Hello, everyone. Tonight, we're going to embark on a journey towards inner peace, a path that can transform your life if you embrace the power of silence. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the constant noise, both in your mind and from the world around you? It's so easy to feel lost, tangled in distractions, and yearning for a moment of quiet. But the truth is, inner peace isn't something to be found outside. It's something we cultivate within. In today's world, we're bombarded by sounds, from the constant buzz of notifications to the endless chatter of thoughts in our minds. We rarely find a moment of stillness, yet stillness is the key to unlocking inner peace. The act of simply being present in a moment of silence opens doors to reflection and clarity. Silence allows us to tap into a deeper state of consciousness, a space where we can hear our own voice and understand our true selves. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And if you feel like sharing, drop your location and local time in the comments. I'd love to know where you're watching from. Now, let's turn off the lights, turn on the fan for some background music, and enjoy the evening ride together. Silence doesn't just mean the absence of sound. In the Zen tradition, silence is a form of stillness, a state of being where we can rest our minds and hearts. It is not about escaping the noise of the world. It's about learning to be with it without reacting. This first step is about acknowledging the noise, both internal and external, and making space to observe it without judgment. In Zen, silence is often seen as a tool for self-reflection. It's not about removing distractions, because that's impossible in our modern lives. It's about learning how to sit with them, to allow them to come and go without becoming entangled in them. When we find stillness, we're not escaping the world. We're simply experiencing it fully, without the mental chatter that usually clouds our perception. Have you ever taken a moment to just breathe and notice the world around you? Not thinking about what comes next or what happened before. Just breathing in and out, being fully present in the here and now. This is the first step toward cultivating inner peace. In those brief moments of awareness, silence becomes more than just a lack of noise. It becomes a refuge, a safe space where we can retreat to when the world feels too loud, too overwhelming. When we learn to embrace silence, we learn to embrace ourselves. We stop running from our thoughts and emotions, and instead, we observe them with kindness and curiosity. The Zen tradition teaches us that everything we need is already inside of us. It's just a matter of creating the conditions to listen to our own inner wisdom, to let go of the distractions that keep us from hearing our true voice. Think about it. How often do you allow yourself to just be still, to sit with your own thoughts and feelings without judgment? It can be uncomfortable at first. We live in a society that constantly demands our attention, pulling us in a million directions. Yet, in that silence, we can find a deeper connection to who we are, to our emotions, and to our true purpose. Zen teachings encourage us to embrace silence not as an escape, but as a way to return to ourselves. The more we practice silence, the more we begin to understand the noise inside us, why it's there, and how we can make peace with it. Silence, in this sense, is not the absence of sound, but the presence of clarity. When we learn to quiet the noise, we can listen to the whispers of our intuition and our soul. As you move through life, think of each moment as an opportunity to invite silence into your experience. Even in the midst of chaos, you can choose to find moments of peace, whether it's through mindfulness, meditation, or simply pausing to breathe. Silence offers us a refuge from the storm of daily life. It teaches us how to let go, how to accept what is, and how to find joy in the present moment. Zen philosophy emphasizes that peace is not a destination, but a journey. It's about finding balance in the process, not rushing toward an end goal. This journey to inner peace begins with one small step: learning to embrace the silence within. By doing so, we create the space to reflect, to release, and to reconnect with the essence of who we are. When we stop and reflect, we can hear the stillness in our hearts. In that stillness, we find the answers we've been searching for. We find clarity, understanding, and acceptance. We find peace. So, let's begin this journey together. Take a deep breath, and for a moment, just listen. Listen to the sound of your own breathing, the gentle rustle of the world around you, and the quiet within. This is the first step toward discovering the power of silence, the key to unlocking inner peace. Allow yourself to be present, to experience this moment fully, and remember that in this moment of stillness, everything you need is already here. As you continue along this path, you'll find that silence is not something to fear or avoid. It is your ally, your companion in the journey towards a calmer, more peaceful life. By embracing silence, you embrace yourself. And that is where true peace begins. The mind, in its natural state, is like a river flowing incessantly, constantly moving, rarely stopping. It's filled with thoughts, memories, emotions, and desires, all swirling together in a relentless current. Have you ever noticed how, when you try to quiet the mind, it seems to get louder? It's as if the moment you focus on it, it resists, filling your thoughts with more noise. This is the nature of the mind. It doesn't like stillness. It craves stimulation, distraction, and activity. It fears silence because silence means facing the unknown. And so, the mind becomes filled with endless chatter, worries about the future, regrets about the past, fears of what might happen next. But the truth is, these thoughts are not who we are. They are simply clouds passing through the vast sky of our consciousness. The Zen teachings tell us that to find peace, we must first learn to understand this restless nature of the mind. The mind isn't something we can completely control, but we can learn to observe it, to become aware of the thoughts that arise without identifying with them. The key to calming the mind is not to fight the thoughts, but to observe them with detachment. Think of your thoughts as leaves on a river. They come and go, and you don't need to grab onto each one. You can simply watch them float by. Mindfulness is a powerful tool in this process. It's the practice of paying attention, on purpose, to the present moment without judgment. When you practice mindfulness, you become more aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your reactions. You begin to see the mind for what it is, a series of fleeting thoughts and sensations. They have no inherent power over you unless you give them that power. By observing them without attachment, you begin to loosen their grip on you. Imagine, for a moment, you're sitting by a calm lake. The surface is still, reflecting the beauty of the trees, the sky, and the sun. Now, picture a stone being thrown into the water. The ripple spreads, and the lake is disturbed for a moment. The stone, however, sinks to the bottom, and soon, the water becomes still again. The thoughts in your mind are like those ripples. When you are aware of them, they pass, and the mind can return to its natural state of calm. But when you engage with them, they keep stirring the water, keeping you in a constant state of motion. Learning to let go of the need to control every thought is a liberating practice. The Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh, once said, "You must learn to embrace the noise, not fight it." This is a fundamental part of Zen mindfulness. You can't always stop your mind from thinking, but you can stop yourself from reacting to it. When you notice a thought arise, simply acknowledge it. There's that thought again. And then let it go. This simple act of acknowledgement creates space between you and the thought, reducing its power over you. The more we practice this, the quieter the mind becomes. It doesn't happen overnight. Just as a muddy stream takes time to clear, so too does the mind need time to settle. But with patience and practice, the mind becomes more manageable. You start to realize that the constant chatter is not who you are. It's simply the noise of a mind that has not yet learned to rest. As you continue this practice, you'll notice that you don't have to fight your thoughts. Instead, you'll create a peaceful distance between you and the mind's clutter. It's like stepping back from a loud conversation and finding a quiet place to breathe. The thoughts will still be there, but they won't have the same hold over you. You'll find that in the silence, the mind becomes clearer, sharper, and more peaceful. At first, it may feel uncomfortable to just be with your thoughts without engaging with them. The mind will try to convince you that you need to do something, that you need to solve the problem or fix the emotion. But in those moments, practice simply being. Allow the thoughts to rise and fall, like the waves on the ocean. Let them come, let them go. In doing so, you are training your mind to rest, to return to its natural state of stillness. Mindfulness, at its core, is about becoming aware of the present moment. It's about observing without judgment, experiencing without attachment. This awareness of the mind and its restless nature helps you detach from the constant urge to react. Instead of rushing to find solutions or to quiet the noise, you learn to simply be with it. And in that space of being, peace naturally arises. In Zen, we talk about the beginner's mind. It's the ability to approach each moment with openness and curiosity, without preconceived notions or judgments. This is how you should approach your thoughts. Instead of labeling them as good or bad, just notice them with fresh eyes, as though you are seeing them for the first time. Over time, this practice cultivates a deeper sense of peace, as you stop reacting to the world with fear or anxiety, and instead observe it with a sense of calm and acceptance. This section of the journey is about learning to understand the mind's nature, not to control it, but to witness it without becoming entangled. It's about seeing the thoughts for what they are: temporary, passing, and impermanent. And in doing so, you begin to create space for inner peace. The more you practice this, the more you realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. The nature of the mind is restless. But through mindfulness, you can find a space of stillness. By observing the mind without attachment, you allow it to settle. And in that settling, peace arises. This practice takes time, but with patience and persistence, the restless river of thoughts becomes calm, and the stillness of the mind becomes your natural state. When was the last time you fully immersed yourself in the present moment? Have you ever been so caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life that you barely notice the simple beauty around you? Often, we're so focused on what happened before or what might happen in the future that we forget to experience what is happening right here, right now. Zen teachings emphasize the importance of the present moment, what they call the now. The present is where life truly exists, and when we embrace it fully, we unlock the door to peace. But how can we embrace the present when the mind is constantly running, pulling us back to past regrets or pushing us forward into future anxieties? In Zen, we learn that to be fully present, we must release our attachment to both the past and the future. The past is gone, and the future has not yet arrived. The only place where we have any power to act is in the present. And yet, the present moment is often the most elusive. Our minds are like magnets, constantly attracted to thoughts of what's behind us or what's ahead. It's easy to get stuck in the spiral of what-ifs, but the key to inner peace is remembering that the present moment is where true peace resides. Think for a moment about the last time you felt completely present. Maybe you were enjoying a walk in the park, savoring a meal, or simply listening to the sound of your breath. In those moments, you were fully immersed in the now, experiencing life as it unfolded. The past and future melted away, and all that remained was the simple, profound reality of the present moment. This is what Zen mindfulness teaches: to be fully present, to accept what is happening right now without judgment or resistance. When we fully experience each moment, we find that life becomes richer, more vivid, and more meaningful. Instead of rushing from one task to the next, we begin to savor each moment as it comes. To embrace the present, we must first let go of the need to control it. We cannot force the present moment to be anything other than what it is. Often, we try to manipulate our experiences, hoping for better outcomes or worrying about what might happen. But when we stop trying to control everything, we free ourselves to truly experience life as it is. Zen teaches us to observe the present without trying to change it. The practice of mindfulness encourages us to simply notice what is happening: our thoughts, our emotions, our environment, without labeling them as good or bad. By doing this, we allow the present moment to unfold naturally, without interference. One powerful way to cultivate presence is through focused attention. When you're doing something, whether it's eating, walking, or talking, pay full attention to the experience. If you're eating, notice the textures, the flavors, the smells. If you're walking, feel the earth beneath your feet, the air on your skin, the sounds of the world around you. When you bring your full attention to these activities, you become more connected to the present moment, and in turn, more connected to yourself. The Zen concept of being rather than doing also plays a significant role in embracing the present. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to do more, to achieve more. But Zen teaches that true peace comes not from doing, but from being present in the moment, fully alive and aware of your surroundings is an act of mindfulness. In those moments, you don't have to do anything. You simply exist. And in that existence, you find peace. The present moment is where we find our true selves. When we stop looking for happiness in the future or regretting our past mistakes, we open ourselves to the joy of simply being alive. We realize that peace is not something we have to search for. It is already here, in this very moment. The peace we seek is not in distant goals or past achievements. It is in the quiet awareness of the now. So, how can you bring more presence into your life? Start by being mindful of your breath. Each time you inhale, take a moment to be aware of the sensation of air filling your lungs. When you exhale, notice the release of tension in your body. This simple practice connects you to the present moment and can help ground you in times of stress or anxiety. Another practice is to focus on the sensations of your body. How do your feet feel as they touch the ground? How does your skin feel against your clothes? These subtle, everyday sensations can serve as reminders to return to the present moment, to stop worrying about what has been or what will come. One of the most transformative aspects of Zen practice is the ability to shift our perspective. When we let go of the need to control or predict, we create space for the present to unfold naturally. We stop looking for happiness in future accomplishments or past experiences and begin to find joy in the here and now. At the core of Zen is the idea that peace is not something we need to achieve, but something we need to remember. It is already within us, in the simplicity of the present moment. When we embrace the present, we awaken to this truth. We stop chasing after something we think is missing, and we start to recognize that everything we need is already here, right in front of us. Embracing the present moment is not always easy. Our minds are trained to look for distractions, to pull us away from the now. But by practicing mindfulness, by focusing on the present moment without judgment, we can slowly train ourselves to be more present in every aspect of our lives. And in doing so, we unlock the power of inner peace. When we let go of our attachment to the past and future, we free ourselves to experience life in its fullness. And in that fullness, we find peace. Meditation is the cornerstone of Zen practice and one of the most powerful tools we have to cultivate inner peace. Yet, for many, meditation can feel elusive, especially when the mind seems to be constantly churning with thoughts. Have you ever tried to meditate, only to find that your mind races even faster? It's a common experience, but meditation is not about silencing the mind. It's about observing it with awareness and learning to create space between ourselves and our thoughts. In Zen, meditation is often referred to as zazen, or sitting meditation. This practice is not about achieving a particular state or outcome. It's not about forcing yourself to feel peaceful or calm. Instead, it's about being with yourself, right here, right now, without expectation. Zazen teaches us to accept what arises without judgment or resistance, allowing everything to be as it is. When you first begin to meditate, it can feel uncomfortable. You may find it difficult to sit still, or your mind may be filled with distracting thoughts. This is natural. The mind is used to constant activity and stimulation. So asking it to sit quietly for a few moments can feel like a monumental task. But this discomfort is part of the process. It's not something to fight, but something to observe with patience. The essence of meditation is not about controlling the mind or forcing it to be still, but about learning to observe the thoughts without attaching to them. In this process, we start to see the thoughts for what they are, fleeting and impermanent. When a thought arises, you don't need to act on it. You simply notice it. Ah, there's that thought again. And then return to your breath, your body, or the simple act of being present. The key to meditation is developing a relaxed awareness. Imagine sitting quietly in a room, not trying to do anything, not trying to change anything, just being aware of what is happening in that moment. Notice the sounds around you, the sensations in your body, the thoughts that come and go. There's no need to judge them, no need to push them away. You are simply present with them, allowing them to exist without interference. Breathing plays a central role in meditation. In many meditation practices, the breath serves as an anchor, a way to bring our attention back to the present moment. When the mind begins to wander, the breath offers a simple, calming focal point. Inhale deeply, noticing the sensation of the air filling your lungs. Exhale slowly, letting go of any tension or distraction. As you focus on the rhythm of your breath, you return to the present moment, allowing your thoughts to come and go without getting caught up in them. One powerful practice in Zen meditation is to count the breaths. Start by silently counting each inhale and exhale up to 10, then start again at 1. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back to the count. This simple practice helps focus the mind and creates a sense of order in the midst of the chaos of thoughts. It's a way to gently guide yourself back to the present moment. Meditation is not about achieving a particular state of mind, but rather about learning to sit with whatever arises, whether that's peace, discomfort, boredom, or excitement. The goal is not to eliminate thoughts or feelings, but to simply be with them without getting caught up in them. This is where the power of silence comes in. In silence, we find the space to observe our thoughts and emotions without reacting. And in that space, we begin to realize that we are not our thoughts. We are the awareness behind them. Many people approach meditation with the idea that it will bring them immediate peace or calm. But the truth is that meditation is a lifelong practice. The benefits of meditation accumulate over time. With regular practice, You begin to notice subtle shifts in your ability to remain present and calm in everyday situations. You become less reactive to stress, less attached to your thoughts, and more aware of the peace that lies within. One of the most profound benefits of meditation is that it teaches us to be present with ourselves, without judgment. In a world where we're constantly told to be more, do more, and achieve more, meditation offers a radical alternative. It invites us to simply be, to slow down, to reconnect with the deepest parts of ourselves that are often overshadowed by the noise of daily life. The practice of meditation also teaches us the art of letting go. It shows us that we don't need to hold on to our thoughts, our emotions, or our experiences. We can let them come and go without clinging to them. Just as the waves rise and fall in the ocean, our thoughts and feelings come and go. We can observe them without attachment, knowing that they are temporary. If you've ever sat in meditation for an extended period, you may have noticed that at some point, the mind begins to settle. The initial turbulence of thoughts calms down, and there's a moment of clarity. It's as if the clouds part and the sun shines through. In those moments, you experience a sense of stillness, a sense of peace that doesn't depend on anything external. This is the essence of meditation, the ability to be present with yourself and to experience the peace that is always available. No matter what is happening around you, meditation is not a quick fix. It's not a technique to make everything better right away. Instead, it's a practice that invites us to be with ourselves, to become more aware of our minds and our emotions, and to cultivate a deep sense of peace that comes from within. The more we practice, the more we realize that we don't need to search for peace outside of ourselves. It's always been there, waiting for us to notice. So, if you're new to meditation, remember that it's not about perfection. There will be days when your mind is restless, when you can't seem to sit still, and that's okay. Each moment of meditation is a moment of practice, a moment of returning to the present, to the now. And in that practice, you'll find the peace you've been seeking all along. The ego is a fascinating thing. It defines who we are, shapes our identity, and influences how we interact with the world. We cling to it because it provides a sense of security, a fixed sense of self. But have you ever noticed how much stress and suffering the ego can create? We defend it, protect it, and build walls around it to maintain its strength. Yet, in doing so, we lock ourselves in a cage of our own making. In Zen teachings, the ego is often referred to as a false self, a construction that we create based on our experiences, desires, and fears. The ego is not our true essence. It is a layer of identities and roles we play to navigate the world. The problem arises when we become attached to this false self, believing that it defines who we are. In reality, the ego is impermanent. It is constantly changing, shifting based on circumstances and external influences. The Zen practice invites us to step beyond the ego, to observe it, and to let go of our attachment to it. This is not to say that we should completely abandon our sense of self, but rather that we should learn to see the ego for what it is, a transient collection of thoughts and experiences. When we let go of the need to identify with the ego, we free ourselves from its control And in that freedom, we find true peace. But letting go of the ego is not easy. The ego resists. It wants to maintain control, to be in charge. It fears dissolution because without it, what are we? Who are we? These are the questions the ego raises, trying to hold on tightly. Yet, if we look deeply, we can see that the ego's grip on us is an illusion. It is like a shadow, always shifting, never truly solid. When we learn to let go of the ego, we come face to face with our true nature, a nature that is peaceful, still, and free. One powerful Zen practice to help us release the ego is the art of non-attachment. Attachment to the ego creates suffering. We become attached to our achievements, our opinions, our possessions, and our identities. This attachment is the root cause of much of our stress. When we are attached to something, we are afraid of losing it. And that fear creates anxiety. But when we practice non-attachment, we stop clinging to the ego and its constructs. We learn to let go of our attachment to who we think we are. And in doing so, we open ourselves to a deeper sense of peace. Imagine, for a moment, a balloon filled with air. The balloon represents the ego, and the air inside represents the ideas, beliefs, and identities we cling to. As long as the balloon is inflated, it remains solid and visible. But if we let the air out, the balloon deflates and disappears. In the same way, when we let go of our attachment to the ego, we allow it to shrink, to deflate, and to dissolve. And in that space, we find freedom. We become less concerned with who we are in the eyes of others, and more connected to the truth of who we are in the present moment. One of the Zen koans, the paradoxical riddles designed to break the logical mind, asks, who are you when you are not your thoughts, your emotions, or your body? This question points directly to the ego's illusory nature. When we strip away all the identities we cling to, what remains? The answer is not found in our thoughts or in the labels we assign to ourselves. The answer is found in the stillness of our being, in the silence beneath the chatter of the mind. In this silence, we find our true self, our true essence, beyond the limitations of the ego. Letting go of the ego is a gradual process, and it requires patience. The ego doesn't dissolve overnight, but through meditation, mindfulness, and self-awareness, we begin to loosen its grip. We start to see that the things we once identified with, our achievements, our status, our roles, are not the true source of happiness. Happiness comes from within, from a deeper connection to our true nature, which exists beyond the ego. In Zen, this process of letting go is called emptiness. Emptiness is not a void or a sense of loss. It is a space of potential, a state of openness. When we let go of the ego, we create room for something new to arise. We stop identifying with fixed concepts and allow ourselves to flow with the natural rhythm of life. We become more open to change, more flexible, and more at peace with the ebb and flow of existence. The practice of letting go of the ego also brings with it a profound sense of humility. The ego often causes us to inflate our sense of self, to see ourselves as separate from others, and to place ourselves in competition with the world around us. But when we let go of the ego, we realize that we are not separate. we are part of a larger whole. We are interconnected with all beings and all things. This realization fosters compassion, as we no longer see others as threats or competitors, but as fellow travelers on the path of life. In this humility, we find peace. We no longer feel the need to prove ourselves or defend our worth. We simply exist as we are, in this moment. And in this moment, there is no need for the ego. There is only the peace of simply being. Letting go of the ego is not an abandonment of who we are. It is the recognition that we are so much more than the ego allows us to see. In the silence beyond the ego, we find the fullness of our true selves. The Zen master, Dogen, wrote, "When we let go of everything, we hold nothing. And letting go of the ego, we hold nothing, and yet we hold everything. We are free, free from the need to control, free from the need to prove ourselves, and free to simply be. And in that freedom, we find the ultimate peace." While silence is often associated with the external world, empty spaces, quiet environments, there is another, deeper kind of silence that Zen teachings invite us to explore. The silence within. This inner silence is different from merely being in a quiet room or a peaceful nature setting. It is a state of mind and being, one where we let go of mental chatter and the constant stream of thoughts that usually occupy our consciousness. The silence within is not an absence, but a presence, a deep, profound stillness that can be accessed when we learn to quiet our minds and rest in the present moment. Many of us go through life with our minds constantly running, perpetually busy, never fully pausing to just be. Even when we try to relax, our thoughts continue to race, dragging us into past memories or future worries. But the more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more we start to notice that beneath the surface of our thoughts, there is a space of calm, an untouched stillness. This space is the silence within, and it holds the key to inner peace. To find this silence, we must first understand that it does not arise from the outside world. No external situation or condition can provide lasting peace. The peace we seek is always within us. It is not something we must chase or acquire. It is something we must uncover by turning inward and learning to detach from the constant noise of the mind. In Zen practice, silence is often described as the state of no mind or mindfulness. This doesn't mean that we stop thinking altogether. Thoughts will come and go, as they naturally do. But when we practice no mind, we become aware of our thoughts without identifying with them. We observe them, let them pass, and return to the present moment. This creates a spaciousness within, a space free from the clutter of worries, desires, and distractions. The silence within is not a passive emptiness. It is full of awareness. It's an active presence in the now, where we are completely aware of everything without judgment. When we reach this state, we are no longer distracted by the endless flow of thoughts. Instead, we see them for what they are: transient, impermanent, and ultimately inconsequential. In this realization, we find the space to experience the world as it truly is, free from the distortions created by our judgments and preconceptions. One way to cultivate the silence within is by focusing on the breath. When we focus on the breath, We create a natural anchor that draws us into the present moment. Breathing is something we do naturally, and yet it often goes unnoticed. By bringing awareness to the breath, we engage with life at the most fundamental level. Each breath is a reminder to return to the present, to the space of silence where peace resides. Another way to tap into the silence within is through mindful observation. Take a few moments to sit quietly and observe your surroundings without judgment. Notice the details, how the light falls on objects, the texture of the air, the sounds in the distance. Simply observe without labeling or analyzing. This kind of presence helps us to detach from the mind's endless stream of thoughts and return to the stillness that underlies all things. The silence within can also be cultivated in the midst of everyday activities. It's not necessary to sit in meditation for hours to experience inner peace. You can practice being present in whatever you are doing, whether it's eating, walking, or working. When you focus on the task at hand with full awareness, you enter a state of quiet presence, a flow where the mind is not distracted by past or future. You become deeply immersed in the moment, and in that immersion, you experience the silence within. It's important to understand that the silence within does not mean the absence of thoughts or emotions. These will always arise. They are part of being human. But in the silence within, we no longer need to engage with them or be overwhelmed by them. We can allow them to come and go without attachment or judgment. This creates a deep sense of freedom, as we are no longer slaves to our thoughts or emotions. Silence within also means quieting our judgments and expectations. We spend so much of our lives judging ourselves, others, and the world around us. We label experiences as good or bad, desirable or undesirable. But in Zen, we are invited to let go of these judgments and simply observe things as they are. When we do this, we experience the world in its raw, unfiltered form, free from the distortions that our minds typically impose. In this space, there is no need to label or evaluate. There is only the experience itself. In this state of inner silence, we become deeply connected with the present moment. There is no need to chase after the past or worry about the future. The present moment is all that exists, and when we embrace it fully, we discover the peace that has always been available to us. The Zen teacher, Shunryu Suzuki, famously said, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few." This quote points to the importance of returning to the state of beginner's mind, where we approach each moment with openness, curiosity, and a sense of wonder. In the silence of the beginner's mind, there are endless possibilities. We are not trapped by our previous knowledge or expectations. We are free to experience the world as it is, in all its beauty and mystery. As you continue to practice mindfulness, meditation, and presence, you will begin to notice moments of inner silence throughout your day. These moments are fleeting at first, but as you deepen your practice, they will become more frequent and lasting. You will find that the silence within becomes a refuge, a place of peace and stillness that is always available to you, no matter what is happening around you. The silence within is not something we need to find or acquire. It is already there, hidden beneath the surface of our busy minds. All we need to do is create the space to listen. By practicing mindfulness and meditation, we begin to uncover this deep well of silence within us. And in that silence, we find the peace that we've been searching for all along. Listening is a skill we often take for granted. We think of listening as simply hearing what others say, or paying attention to sounds in the environment. But in Zen, listening is much more than just auditory perception. It is an act of mindfulness, a deep engagement with the present moment. In fact, Zen teaches that true listening is a doorway to profound peace, both within ourselves and with the world around us. Have you ever truly listened to someone without any distractions or judgments? Most of the time, when we listen, we're already preparing our response, analyzing what is being said, or thinking about what to say next. True listening, however, is not about preparing to speak or fixating on the words. It is about being fully present with the person speaking, with the intention to understand, not to react or judge. When we listen in this way, we enter a state of mindful awareness, where we let go of all distractions and immerse ourselves in the moment. Zen encourages us to practice deep listening, a form of listening that involves not only hearing words, but also tuning into the deeper layers of meaning behind them. It's about being attuned to the feelings, intentions, and energy behind the words. When we listen deeply, we allow ourselves to understand the essence of the speaker's experience, not just the surface-level content of their speech. This type of listening is a meditative practice. It requires focus, attention, and an openness to the present moment. True listening also involves silence. To truly listen, we must first become silent within ourselves. If our minds are cluttered with thoughts, judgments, or distractions, we cannot truly listen to others. The mind must be still for listening to happen. In Zen, silence is not the absence of sound, but a state of being present without interference. When we create this inner silence, we open ourselves to a deeper connection with the world and with others. This kind of listening goes beyond hearing words. It is about fully understanding and absorbing what is being communicated. There is a story in Zen about a master who was teaching his students about the art of listening. He told them that when someone speaks, they should listen not just with their ears, but with their entire being. Don't just hear the words, he said. Listen with your heart, your body, your breath. The students were puzzled, but as they practiced this form of deep listening, they began to understand. When they listened with their whole being, they were able to hear not only the words, but the emotions, the intentions, and the silence between the words. Listening with the whole being is not limited to verbal communication. It extends to listening to the world around us, to nature, to our own bodies, and even to our own thoughts. Have you ever listened to the wind, the rustling of leaves, or the sound of your own heartbeat? These are all forms of listening that can bring us closer to the present moment. When we listen deeply, we become more attuned to the subtle rhythms of life, and we begin to feel a sense of connection with everything around us. One of the most powerful forms of listening is to listen to our own thoughts and emotions without judgment. Often, we try to push away uncomfortable feelings or thoughts, but this only causes them to intensify. True listening involves observing our thoughts and feelings with compassion, without trying to change them or make them go away. When we listen to our inner experience with patience and non-judgment, we create space for healing and understanding. We begin to see our thoughts as they are, transient and impermanent, like clouds passing through the sky. Listening also requires letting go of the need to control or fix things. In many conversations, we listen with the intention of offering advice, fixing problems, or offering a solution. But sometimes, the best way to help someone is simply to listen, without trying to change anything. When we listen in this way, we create a safe space for the other person to express themselves fully. This act of listening with presence and compassion allows them to feel heard and understood, and it helps to foster deeper connections. In Zen, listening is considered a form of meditation, a practice that helps cultivate mindfulness and presence. By listening deeply, we learn to quiet the noise in our own minds and become more attuned to the present moment. We learn to listen without attachment, without judgment, and without the need to react. This type of listening allows us to experience life more fully, with greater clarity and awareness. The power of listening extends beyond human interaction. It can also be applied to our relationship with nature, with the world, and even with ourselves. When we listen to the world around us with deep awareness, we begin to notice the interconnectedness of all things. We see that everything has a voice, and everything has something to teach us. The trees, the wind, the animals, all of these are constantly communicating with us. If only we take the time to listen. Listening also allows us to become more attuned to our own bodies. Our bodies are constantly sending us signals, but we often ignore them in our busy lives. By listening to the body, we can tune into its needs, whether that's rest, nourishment, or movement. In this way, listening becomes a practice of self-care, of honoring the messages our bodies are sending us. Listening also requires patience. We often want things to happen quickly, to solve problems immediately. But true listening requires us to slow down and be present. It teaches us to embrace the pace of life, to accept the flow of time, and to allow things to unfold naturally. Patience in listening is not about waiting for your turn to speak. It is about being fully present with what is happening right now. As you practice deep listening, both to others and to yourself, you will notice a shift in your experience. You will begin to feel more connected to the world around you, more grounded in the present moment, and more at peace within yourself. Listening is a gateway to understanding, to compassion, and to inner peace. It allows us to open ourselves to the world with a sense of humility and awareness. And in that openness, we find the true beauty of life in Zen. The practice of listening is not about hearing more. It is about hearing deeply. It is about tuning into the silence between the words, the space between the thoughts, and the stillness that lies beneath the surface of our experiences. When we listen with this depth, we hear not just the sounds of the world, but the silence from which they arise. And in that silence, we find the peace we have been seeking all along. Negative thoughts, those persistent, often self-critical, or fearful thoughts, are a natural part of the human experience. But have you ever noticed how they can drain your energy, cloud your mind, and create unnecessary stress? Negative thoughts often spiral, growing more intense the more we engage with them. In Zen practice, there is a deep understanding of how to approach these thoughts, not with resistance, but with awareness and compassion. The first step in overcoming negative thoughts is recognizing that they are not the truth. They are simply thoughts, mental constructions that arise and pass away. Often, we become so wrapped up in these thoughts that we believe them to be our reality. We think, I am not good enough. I will fail. I am not worthy of love. But these thoughts are just passing clouds in the sky of our mind, not fixed truths about who we are. In Zen, we are taught to observe our thoughts without attachment. When a negative thought arises, we don't have to react to it or identify with it. Instead, we simply observe it as it is, a thought that comes and goes. There's that thought again, we might say to ourselves, and then let it go. This is a powerful act of detachment, realizing that thoughts do not define us. We are not our thoughts. We are the awareness behind them. One of the core practices in Zen is mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, we become more aware of our thoughts, and more importantly, we become more aware of how we react to them. Often, when a negative thought arises, we instantly latch onto it, feeding it with more thoughts, more judgments, more fears. This process is automatic, and it reinforces the negativity. But when we practice mindfulness, we slow down and take a moment to observe the thought before reacting. Instead of letting the thought dictate our emotions or actions, we create space to simply be with it, without judgment. This is where meditation becomes a powerful tool. During meditation, we are taught to sit with our thoughts without attachment. When a negative thought arises, we observe it, acknowledge it, and then gently return to our breath or the present moment. This simple act of returning to the breath helps us detach from the thought, allowing it to pass naturally. Over time, this practice strengthens our ability to observe our thoughts without becoming consumed by them. Another important practice in Zen is to challenge the validity of negative thoughts. Often, negative thoughts are exaggerated, based on assumptions, or rooted in past experiences that no longer serve us. For example, we may think, I will never be successful. But this thought is often rooted in past failures or fears of the future, not in reality. When we challenge these thoughts, we begin to see them for what they truly are: mental patterns that are not grounded in truth. The Zen practice of not knowing is another way to approach negative thoughts. When we stop assuming we know the outcome of every situation or label our experiences as good or bad, we open ourselves to a state of curiosity. Instead of jumping to conclusions or immediately believing negative thoughts, we remain open and present. We don't need to have all the answers. We can simply be with what is. without attaching labels or judgments. In Zen, we also embrace the concept of impermanence. Negative thoughts, like all thoughts, are temporary. They rise, they stay for a moment, and then they dissolve. By reminding ourselves of the impermanence of our thoughts, we begin to loosen our grip on them. When we accept that negative thoughts are temporary, we stop giving them the power to control our emotions. We understand that they do not last forever. A key aspect of overcoming negative thoughts is cultivating self-compassion. Often, our negative thoughts stem from a harsh inner critic, a voice that tells us we're not enough, that we're failing, or that we'll never measure up. This inner critic can be incredibly damaging, creating feelings of shame, guilt, or inadequacy. But Zen encourages us to treat ourselves with the same compassion and understanding that we would offer a friend. When a negative thought arises, instead of criticizing ourselves for having it, we can approach ourselves with kindness. It's okay to feel this way. I am human, and these thoughts do not define me. Self-compassion is not about ignoring our flaws or pretending that everything is perfect. It is about accepting ourselves fully, with all of our imperfections. It's about recognizing that we are worthy of love and kindness, even in our moments of doubt or struggle. When we practice self-compassion, we create a safe space within ourselves, a space where negative thoughts can come and go without causing harm. As we continue to practice mindfulness, meditation, and self-compassion, we begin to notice a shift in how we relate to negative thoughts. They no longer have the same power over us. We no longer believe that they are the truth. We see them for what they are: temporary, passing clouds. And in this recognition, we create space for a more peaceful, grounded mind. One Zen master, in teaching his students about the nature of thoughts, said, "Do not worry about your thoughts. Let them come and go, like waves on the ocean. The more you try to stop them, the stronger they become. Let them rise and fall without resistance." This teaching reflects the Zen approach to negative thoughts. Instead of struggling to get rid of them, we learn to let them be. We create space for them to pass through, without getting stuck or attached to them. The process of overcoming negative thoughts is not about achieving a state of perfect peace or a mind free of all negativity. It is about learning to live with our thoughts, without letting them control us. It is about creating the space to observe, to let go, and to return to the present moment. Over time, with patience and practice, the negative thoughts lose their grip, and we find that peace is always available to us, even in the midst of turmoil. In the end, the key to overcoming negative thoughts is awareness. When we become aware of our thoughts, we realize that we are not defined by them. We can observe them without judgment, let them go without attachment, and return to the peace that lies beneath. Through mindfulness, meditation, and self-compassion, we begin to transform our relationship with our thoughts, freeing ourselves from the cycle of negativity and stepping into a space of calm, clarity, and peace. Patience is often seen as a virtue, but in Zen practice, it is much more than just a quality to admire. It is a foundational aspect of inner peace. We live in a world that demands immediate results, instant gratification, and constant movement. But Zen teaches us that true peace comes not from rushing, but from learning to be present in each moment, regardless of how long it takes. Have you ever found yourself frustrated when things don't go as quickly as you hoped? It's easy to feel impatient when things don't unfold according to our timeline. We want change, growth, or solutions to appear instantly. But life doesn't always work that way. In fact, much of the struggle we face arises from our inability to accept the natural rhythm of time and process. We push against the flow, trying to make things happen faster, only to end up feeling more stressed and out of control. Zen teaches us that patience is not about waiting for something to happen, but about fully embracing the moment, whatever that moment may bring. Patience is the ability to be present with what is, without trying to force things to be different. It is the art of allowing life to unfold in its own time, without resistance or frustration. In Zen, there is a deep understanding of the importance of timing. Everything has its moment, and rushing through life causes us to miss the subtle beauty and lessons of the present. When we rush, we overlook the little things, the small joys, the quiet moments, the opportunities for reflection. By cultivating patience, we slow down and open ourselves to the fullness of each experience, no matter how mundane or simple it may seem. Patience also involves acceptance of the present moment and the circumstances we find ourselves in. Often, we wish things were different. Maybe we wish for better outcomes, smoother paths, or less pain. But Zen teaches us to accept things as they are, without resistance. This acceptance is not resignation, but a peaceful recognition that things are exactly as they need to be. When we embrace the present moment, without judgment or expectation, we create space for growth and healing. Think of a flower blooming. It does not rush. It simply opens in its own time, unfolding petal by petal. The flower does not question the pace of its growth or become frustrated with the process. It trusts that, in its own time, it will bloom. In the same way, we must trust the process of our own lives. We are constantly evolving, constantly learning, but we cannot rush the process. Just as the flower blooms when the conditions are right, we, too, will bloom when we allow ourselves the time and space to grow. One powerful way to cultivate patience is through meditation. When we sit in meditation, we often find that the mind is filled with thoughts, restlessness, and distractions. This is normal, especially for beginners. But meditation teaches us to be patient with our minds. Instead of becoming frustrated or upset by the constant stream of thoughts, we simply notice them and let them go, returning our focus to the breath. This act of patience, of gently bringing ourselves back to the present, helps us cultivate a sense of ease and acceptance with our thoughts, our emotions, and ourselves. Another practice to develop patience is to be mindful of our reactions. How often do we react impulsively to a situation without taking a moment to pause and reflect? We may get frustrated with others, rush through our tasks, or become impatient with ourselves. But by slowing down and taking a moment to breathe before reacting, we can cultivate patience in our daily lives. Instead of jumping to conclusions or acting out of haste, we allow ourselves the space to respond with mindfulness, rather than reacting from a place of stress or anxiety. Patience also requires self-compassion. Often, when we feel impatient, it is because we are putting pressure on ourselves to be somewhere we're not yet. We judge ourselves for not being more successful, more accomplished, or more peaceful. But Zen encourages us to be kind to ourselves, to acknowledge our progress, and to accept ourselves as we are. We are human, and we are on a journey of growth and learning. There's no need to rush the process. Each step we take, no matter how small, is a step forward. It's also important to understand that patience does not mean inaction. Patience does not mean sitting idly by while waiting for something to happen. Instead, patience is an active process of acceptance and presence. It's about doing what we can, but without attachment to the outcome. We put in the effort, but we do not cling to the results. We trust that, in time, our efforts will bear fruit, but we do not force the process. One of the central teachings of Zen is the idea of non-striving. This concept teaches that we don't have to constantly push ourselves to achieve more or be better. We simply need to be present, to engage with life as it is, and trust that we are exactly where we need to be. Non-striving is the opposite of impatience. It is the understanding that the world does not revolve around our timelines. Life unfolds in its own time, and when we trust this process, we can experience peace. A Zen master once said, "Patience is not about waiting, it's about being present." Patience is not just about enduring the passage of time, but about embracing each moment as it comes. It is the ability to remain calm, steady, and open, no matter what life presents. When we cultivate patience, we learn to let go of the need for control and allow life to unfold naturally. As you move through life, try to cultivate patience in your daily experiences. When you feel yourself becoming frustrated or impatient, take a deep breath and remember that everything has its time. Trust in the process of your life. Trust in your own growth. And in that trust, you will find peace. Patience is the practice of being present with what is, without rushing or resisting. It is a way of living that allows us to experience each moment fully, without attachment to the past or future. And in that practice, we discover the true peace that comes from being at ease with the unfolding of life. Compassion is a central tenet of Zen practice, and yet it is often misunderstood. Many think of compassion as simply feeling sorry for others, or offering help when someone is in need. While these are expressions of compassion, Zen teaches that compassion is much deeper. True compassion is about recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings and acting from a place of deep empathy, understanding, and love at its core. Compassion in Zen is about seeing the world through the eyes of others. It is about experiencing their suffering as our own and offering a helping hand, not out of pity or obligation, but out of a genuine desire to ease their pain. But compassion goes beyond just helping others. It's about cultivating kindness and understanding, both towards others and ourselves. How often do we judge ourselves harshly, ignore our own needs, or neglect to show ourselves the same compassion we show to others. In Zen practice, compassion begins with ourselves. We cannot truly offer compassion to others if we do not first learn to be compassionate with ourselves. We must treat ourselves with the same kindness, patience, and understanding that we would offer a dear friend in their time of need. Self-compassion is an essential practice for inner peace. It is the ability to embrace our own flaws, limitations, and imperfections without judgment. Instead of criticizing ourselves for our mistakes or shortcomings, we learn to accept them with kindness. Just as we would comfort a friend who is struggling, we must comfort ourselves. This doesn't mean we condone harmful behaviors, but rather, we approach ourselves with understanding and a desire for growth. When we cultivate compassion for ourselves, we begin to see our humanity more clearly. We recognize that we are not perfect, that we have struggles and pain just like everyone else. This understanding allows us to let go of the need for perfection and embrace ourselves as we are. In doing so, we create space for healing and peace. Compassion also extends to our relationships with others. Zen teaches that all beings are interconnected, that we are all part of a larger whole. When we recognize this interconnectedness, we begin to see that the suffering of others is not separate from our own. Their pain, their struggles, are a reflection of the shared human experience. When we offer compassion to others, we are not just helping them. We are also helping ourselves by nurturing our own sense of interconnectedness. One of the most powerful practices in Zen is the metta meditation, or the practice of loving kindness. In this meditation, we focus on cultivating feelings of love and compassion, first for ourselves, and then extending those feelings to others. We begin by silently repeating phrases like, "May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at peace." Once we have cultivated compassion for ourselves, we then extend these wishes to others, first to loved ones, then to strangers, and even to those we may find difficult. This practice helps us break down the barriers that separate us from others and fosters a deep sense of empathy and love. Compassion also involves listening deeply to others. It's not enough to just offer help or advice. We must truly hear and understand what the other person is going through. Often, people just need someone to listen to them, to hold space for their emotions without judgment. In Zen, the practice of deep listening is an expression of compassion. It is about being present with someone in their pain, offering them our full attention and care. When we listen with compassion, we create a safe space for others to express themselves without fear of judgment. We allow them to feel seen, heard, and understood. This is one of the greatest gifts we can offer, simply being present with another person in their time of need. Compassion is also about recognizing the suffering that exists in the world and acting to alleviate it whenever possible. This does not mean we must solve every problem or fix every injustice, but rather that we do what we can to make the world a better place. Zen encourages us to act with kindness and generosity, to offer help when we can, and to do so without expectation of reward or recognition. Compassion in action is a way of living that benefits both others and ourselves. The Zen practice of engaged Buddhism emphasizes the importance of applying the teachings of compassion to our everyday lives. Engaged Buddhism is not just about meditation or contemplation. It is about taking the wisdom and peace cultivated on the cushion and bringing it into our interactions with the world. Whether it's offering a smile to a stranger, helping a neighbor in need, or simply showing kindness to ourselves, compassion is a living, breathing practice that can transform the world. True compassion does not come from pity or sympathy. It comes from a deep recognition of our shared humanity. It comes from understanding that we are all walking the same path, facing similar challenges, and experiencing the same joys and sorrows. When we approach others with this understanding, we open our hearts to their suffering. And in doing so, we also open our hearts to our own. Zen teaches that compassion is not just an emotion, it is a state of being. It is the natural expression of a heart that is open, free from judgment, and connected to the world. Compassion is not something we do occasionally, but something we embody in every moment, in every interaction, in your own life. Try to approach every situation with compassion. When faced with difficulties, treat yourself with kindness and understanding. When interacting with others, listen deeply, offer your presence, and extend your heart. The more we practice compassion, the more it becomes a part of who we are. And as we cultivate compassion within ourselves, we create a ripple effect that spreads to everyone we encounter. Compassion is the key to unlocking a life of peace. When we show compassion to ourselves and to others, we break down the walls that separate us, and we build connections that foster love, understanding, and healing. Through compassion, we not only ease the suffering of others, but we also discover the true peace that comes from living in harmony with all beings. In life, we all face challenges. They are inevitable, and often they feel insurmountable. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, a personal failure, or an unexpected setback, challenges can make us question our strength, our purpose, and our ability to move forward. But Zen teachings offer a powerful perspective on facing challenges, not as obstacles to be feared, but as opportunities for growth, self-discovery, and deepening our practice of patience, mindfulness, and compassion. How do you react when faced with difficulty? Do you resist, fight, and wish things were different? Or do you accept the situation, allowing yourself to experience the emotions and thoughts that arise without judgment? In Zen, we are encouraged to approach challenges with a mindset of acceptance and openness, rather than resistance. This doesn't mean passivity or resignation. It means fully engaging with the present moment as it is, without trying to force or manipulate the outcome. Zen teaches that challenges, rather than being burdens to bear, are essential for our spiritual and personal growth. Every difficult situation presents an opportunity to practice patience, mindfulness, and compassion. When we face challenges with awareness, we learn about our inner strength, our capacity to be resilient, and our ability to navigate adversity with grace. One of the most important aspects of facing challenges in Zen is the understanding of impermanence. Everything in life is in a constant state of change, and no experience, good or bad, lasts forever. When we are going through a tough time, it can feel like the pain will never end. But Zen reminds us that suffering, like joy, is temporary. It rises, it peaks, and then it fades away. Knowing this, we can approach challenges with a sense of equanimity, knowing that just as difficult times pass, so too will moments of peace. The Zen practice of beginner's mind also plays a crucial role in facing challenges. When we approach a challenge with a beginner's mind, we open ourselves to seeing it from a fresh perspective, free from preconceptions or judgments. Instead of getting bogged down by past experiences or expectations, we approach the situation with curiosity and openness. This allows us to respond with greater clarity and wisdom, rather than reacting from a place of fear, frustration, or resistance. In moments of difficulty, we may also turn to meditation as a tool to help us navigate the challenge. Meditation allows us to pause, breathe, and center ourselves. It helps us detach from the storm of emotions and thoughts that often accompany challenges. When we meditate, we create a space for clarity so that we can see the situation as it is, without being clouded by fear or panic. Meditation also allows us to return to our breath, grounding us in the present moment and helping us to let go of the overwhelming thoughts that may arise during difficult times. The Zen concept of non-striving also teaches us to approach challenges differently. Often, when faced with difficulty, we try to push through it, force solutions, or rush toward the end result. But Zen teaches us that sometimes the best thing we can do is to step back, accept the situation, and allow it to unfold naturally. Non-striving does not mean inaction. It means surrendering the need to control everything and trusting in the process. By relinquishing the need to force outcomes, we allow ourselves to approach challenges with a sense of calm and acceptance. In Zen, we also recognize the importance of embracing suffering. While this may sound counterintuitive, Zen teaches that suffering is an integral part of life. It is through our struggles that we learn and grow. Suffering is not something to avoid or resist, but something to be accepted and understood. When we embrace suffering, we allow ourselves to experience it fully, without denial or suppression. In doing so, we can transform our suffering into wisdom, compassion, and strength. The practice of compassion also plays a vital role in how we face challenges. Compassion allows us to accept the difficulty we are going through without judgment or criticism. It teaches us to be kind to ourselves during moments of struggle, offering ourselves the same compassion we would offer to a friend. When we approach challenges with compassion, we are able to navigate them with a sense of self-love and understanding, rather than harshness or self-criticism. Zen teaches us that we are not alone in our struggles. We are all connected by the shared human experience. When we face challenges, we can take comfort in knowing that others have faced similar difficulties, and that suffering is a universal part of life. This recognition can help us feel less isolated and more compassionate toward ourselves and others. It is also essential to remember that challenges are a natural part of the human condition. No one is exempt from difficulty. In fact, Zen teaches that life is a series of challenges and that our spiritual practice is a way to navigate these challenges with wisdom and grace. Each challenge we face is an opportunity to deepen our practice, to strengthen our patience, and to cultivate our mindfulness. By embracing challenges as part of the journey, we begin to see them not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. As you move through your own life, think of the challenges you face as part of your spiritual practice. They are not separate from your growth. They are the very things that will help you cultivate inner peace. When you approach challenges with mindfulness, patience, and compassion, you are able to transform them into opportunities for deepening your connection to yourself and to the world. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "No mud, no lotus." This teaching speaks to the idea that in order to grow and bloom, we must go through the mud, the struggles, the difficulties, the pain. But it is through these experiences that we discover our true strength, resilience, and capacity for peace. Without the mud, there would be no lotus. Similarly, without the challenges we face, we would not have the opportunity to deepen our practice and realize the true peace that is always within us. So, when you face challenges, remember that they are an essential part of your spiritual path. Rather than resisting or fighting them, embrace them with an open heart, knowing that through them, you will grow. Each challenge is an invitation to practice patience, mindfulness, compassion, and acceptance. And in doing so, you will find the peace that lies beyond the surface of your struggles. Non-attachment is a central concept in Zen practice, yet it is often misunderstood. In our modern world, attachment is frequently viewed as a natural part of being human. Attachments to people, possessions, ideas, and expectations. We believe that our happiness depends on these attachments, and so we cling to them fiercely. However, Zen teachings invite us to question this assumption and explore the possibility that true peace and freedom lie in letting go of our attachments. At its core, non-attachment is not about renouncing all things or withdrawing from life. It is about loosening the grip that we have on our desires, fears, and identities. Attachment, in this sense, is the belief that something external, whether it's a person, a goal, or an object, can provide us with lasting happiness or fulfillment. This belief leads to suffering because, as we know, nothing in life is permanent. People change, circumstances shift, and material possessions break down or fade away. When we tie our sense of well-being to external things, we inevitably set ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. In Zen, non-attachment is the practice of letting go of the need to hold on to these things as sources of security or happiness. This doesn't mean that we stop caring about people, experiences, or possessions. It means that we stop relying on them to define our happiness or sense of self. We allow ourselves to enjoy the beauty of life without becoming overly attached to it. We love others deeply, but we recognize that our love should not be dependent on them meeting our expectations or fulfilling our desires. This kind of love is free, without the need for ownership or control. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root cause of suffering. When we are attached to something, we fear losing it. We cling to it, hoping it will bring us lasting happiness. But in doing so, we create a cycle of desire and fear. This cycle keeps us bound to the impermanent nature of life, where everything is constantly changing. By practicing non-attachment, we learn to live with the flow of life rather than resisting it. We stop grasping at things that we believe will give us lasting satisfaction, and instead focus on cultivating peace within ourselves. One way to practice non-attachment is by reflecting on the impermanence of all things. Everything we experience, whether it's a moment of joy, a relationship, or a material possession, is temporary. By accepting this impermanence, we can begin to loosen our attachment to these fleeting things. We no longer fear their loss, because we recognize that their presence in our lives is simply part of the natural ebb and flow of existence. This understanding allows us to appreciate each moment for what it is, without trying to hold on to it forever. In meditation, we practice non-attachment by observing our thoughts without getting caught up in them. Thoughts arise, but they are not permanent. When we attach to our thoughts, believing them to be the truth, or acting on them without reflection, we create unnecessary suffering. By practicing mindfulness and awareness, we can observe our thoughts without becoming attached to them. We allow them to come and go, without identifying with them or allowing them to control us. This practice of non-attachment frees us from the grip of our own mind and creates space for inner peace. Non-attachment also applies to our emotions. Emotions arise naturally in response to our experiences. But when we attach to them, believing them to define who we are or control our actions, we create more suffering. Instead of identifying with our emotions, we learn to observe them with compassion and curiosity. We understand that emotions are not permanent, and they do not define us. By practicing non-attachment to our emotions, we create space to experience them fully without being overwhelmed by them. One of the most profound teachings of Zen is that non-attachment leads to freedom. When we let go of our attachment to outcomes, expectations, and desires, we release the tension and anxiety that come from clinging to what we cannot control. We are no longer bound by the need to make things turn out a certain way. Instead, we accept each moment as it comes, without attachment to how it should be. This acceptance brings freedom, because we are no longer fighting against the flow of life. We trust in the natural unfolding of things and embrace each experience with an open heart. The practice of non-attachment also teaches us to live more simply. In a world that constantly encourages us to accumulate more possessions, more success, more validation, it can be difficult to let go of the desire for more. But Zen reminds us that true happiness does not come from acquiring more things or achieving more goals. Happiness comes from within, from a deep sense of peace and contentment that arises when we release our attachment to external outcomes. When we practice non-attachment, we cultivate a deeper sense of freedom. We are no longer controlled by our desires, fears, or the need for approval. We begin to live in alignment with our true nature, which is inherently peaceful and content. This freedom allows us to engage with the world in a more authentic way. We can enjoy life fully, without becoming overly attached to any one thing or outcome. In relationships, non-attachment means loving without possessiveness or control. It means allowing others to be who they are, without trying to change them or make them fulfill our needs. This type of love is freeing because it allows both people to be their authentic selves. When we are not attached to the idea of what a relationship should be, we create space for deeper connection, understanding, and compassion. Non-attachment does not mean detachment or indifference. It means fully experiencing life, loving deeply, and engaging with the world, but without holding on too tightly. It is about being present in each moment without clinging to it. When we practice non-attachment, we find that life becomes more fluid, more peaceful, and more joyous. The Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh, once said, "You are not a separate entity. You are the entire universe." This statement points to the interconnectedness of all things. When we practice non-attachment, we understand that everything is interconnected and that our happiness does not depend on possessing or controlling anything. We are free to simply be, to flow with life, and to experience the beauty and peace that arise when we let go of the need to hold on. In your own life, try to practice non-attachment in small ways. Notice when you are clinging to an outcome or an expectation. Allow yourself to let go, and instead focus on the present moment. Practice accepting things as they are, without judgment or resistance. The more you practice non-attachment, the more you will experience the freedom and peace that come from living in alignment with the natural flow of life. Non-attachment is not about renouncing life. It is about embracing it fully, without holding on to anything. It is about experiencing life as it is, without the need to control or possess. And in doing so, we find true freedom, peace, and happiness. In Zen, nature is often seen as a profound teacher. The natural world, in all its simplicity and beauty, reflects the core teachings of Zen: stillness, impermanence, and interconnectedness. When we connect with nature, we come into alignment with the rhythm of life, experiencing peace and presence in a way that words cannot describe. Nature's silence is a powerful reminder of the quietude that resides within us, and it offers us a chance to return to ourselves, to find solace in the present moment. Have you ever sat by the ocean, listened to the rustling of leaves in the wind, or simply watched the sunset? In these moments, we often find a deep sense of peace, as if time itself slows down. This is the power of nature's silence, an invitation to step away from the noise of the world and experience the present with a still mind. Zen teaches us that we don't need to seek peace in far-off places or extraordinary experiences. It is available to us in every moment. And nature provides the perfect space for us to reconnect with it. When we immerse ourselves in nature, we enter a realm of simplicity and purity. The mountains, rivers, and forests do not judge us, nor do they seek to impress us. They simply are. They offer a lesson in non-striving. They do not hurry. They do not fight against time, and yet they endure. The trees do not rush to grow. They unfold in their own time. The river flows steadily, without concern for the obstacles in its path. The very stillness of nature mirrors the stillness within us when we let go of the need to control, to force, or to achieve. In Zen, there is a practice called shizen, which means naturalness or spontaneity. It is the act of being fully in tune with nature, allowing ourselves to experience the world around us without interference or judgment. When we walk in nature, we can practice Shizen by simply being present to what is, without expectation, without a desire to reach a destination, and without the need to label what we experience. We can listen to the sound of the wind, feel the earth beneath our feet, and notice the colors of the sky without attaching any meaning to them. We simply allow them to be. The Zen concept of suchness, tathata, teaches us that things are as they are, and there is no need to change or improve them. When we observe nature, we see that everything is perfect in its imperfection. The crooked tree, the scattered stones, the falling leaves, all of these are in their natural state, without the need for our judgment or interference. In the same way, when we observe our own thoughts, emotions, and experiences, we can practice non-attachment to them, allowing them to be as they are. This acceptance of things as they are leads to a profound sense of peace. Nature's silence teaches us the power of stillness. We often associate silence with emptiness or a lack of sound. But Zen reminds us that silence is not an absence. Silence is a presence, a deep, rich presence that allows us to connect with the world in a way that words cannot describe. The sounds of nature, when listened to with mindfulness, become an expression of silence. The rustling leaves, the chirping birds, the sound of the rain, they are all part of nature's symphony. And when we listen deeply, we hear the underlying silence in all of it. This silence is not empty. It is full of life, full of the present moment. When we walk through a forest, we are reminded that all things are interconnected. The trees, the animals, the soil, and the air. All of these are part of the same web of life. Zen teaches us that we, too, are interconnected with everything around us. When we connect with nature, we feel this oneness, this deep sense of belonging. We are not separate from the world. We are part of it. And in this realization, we find peace. In addition to its silence, nature's impermanence offers a valuable lesson. The changing seasons, the cycles of growth and decay, the ebb and flow of tides, all of these remind us that nothing is permanent. Everything changes. And in this change, there is beauty. The flowers bloom and fade. The trees lose their leaves and grow them back. And the sun rises and sets. This constant cycle of change teaches us to embrace the impermanence of life. When we let go of our attachment to permanence, we open ourselves to the flow of life as it is. And in doing so, we find peace. Spending time in nature allows us to reconnect with the simplicity and purity of life. We stop focusing on the past or future, and instead, we embrace the present moment. In nature, there is no judgment, no comparison, and no need to be anything other than what we are. The river does not compare itself to the mountain, and the bird does not judge the tree. Everything simply exists in its natural state, and in this simplicity, there is profound peace. One Zen practice, called taking the time to smell the flowers, invites us to engage with nature fully and mindfully. When we take a moment to stop and notice the beauty around us, we connect with the present moment in a deeper way. We don't need to hurry through life or rush to our next destination. Instead, we can pause, breathe, and appreciate the world as it is. This practice helps us to cultivate mindfulness, to be present with whatever is happening right now, and to experience the peace that comes with being fully in tune with nature. When we approach nature with mindfulness and appreciation, we can find the same stillness within ourselves. Nature offers us a mirror, a reflection of the peace and calm that resides in all of us, if only we stop long enough to notice it. The next time you find yourself overwhelmed, step outside. Listen to the birds. Feel the breeze on your skin, and take in the beauty of the world around you. Allow nature's silence to guide you back to your own center. Zen teaches that silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of peace. Nature, in all its quiet beauty, offers us the opportunity to experience this silence in its purest form. When we connect with nature, we reconnect with our own true nature, a nature that is peaceful, still, and full of life. Breath is the most fundamental and essential part of our existence. It is the first thing we do when we enter the world, and it is the last thing we do when we leave. Yet, how often do we pay attention to our breath in the hustle and bustle of daily life? Our breath is something we often take for granted, yet it holds immense power to help us achieve inner peace and calm. In Zen practice, the breath is a powerful tool for grounding ourselves in the present moment. Our breath is always with us, always available, and it serves as a constant anchor to the here and now. The act of breathing can help us slow down, quiet our minds, and return to a state of balance. When we become mindful of our breath, we begin to reconnect with the present moment, allowing us to experience life with more clarity and calm. Have you ever noticed how your breath changes when you are stressed or anxious? When we are overwhelmed, our breath tends to become shallow and rapid. This is our body's natural response to stress, but it only adds to the feeling of tension. On the other hand, when we are calm and relaxed, our breath becomes deep, slow, and steady. This difference between shallow, rapid breathing and deep, slow breathing highlights the connection between our breath and our emotional state. By consciously controlling our breath, we can regulate our emotions and return to a state of inner peace. In Zen, we often practice breath awareness as a form of meditation. The simplest form of this is to focus on the sensation of the breath as it enters and exits the body. We notice the coolness of the air as we inhale, and the warmth of the air as we exhale. We pay attention to the rise and fall of our chest or belly, noticing the rhythm and flow of our breath. This practice helps us ground ourselves in the present moment, allowing us to let go of distractions and simply be. One of the core principles of breath meditation is to observe the breath without trying to control it. When we sit in meditation, we are not trying to force our breath to be slow or deep. We are simply observing it as it is. Sometimes, the breath may be shallow, and other times, it may be deep. The key is not to judge or try to change it, but to simply be aware of it. This practice of non-attachment is deeply calming because it allows us to experience life without trying to control or manipulate it. In addition to meditation, breath awareness can be practiced throughout the day. When you feel yourself becoming stressed or anxious, take a moment to focus on your breath. close your eyes, if possible, and take a few slow, deep breaths. With each inhale, imagine breathing in peace and calm. With each exhale, release tension and stress. This simple practice can bring immediate relief and help you return to a state of balance. Breath also plays a crucial role in cultivating mindfulness. When we are mindful, we are present in the moment, fully aware of what is happening without distraction or judgment. The breath is the most accessible point of focus for mindfulness because it is always present. By focusing on the breath, we anchor ourselves to the present moment, allowing us to let go of worries about the future or regrets about the past. This mindfulness of the breath helps us cultivate a sense of calm and clarity, no matter what is happening around us. In Zen, we also learn to use the breath as a means of letting go. When we breathe deeply, we can consciously release any tension or negative emotions that are present in the body. As we exhale, we imagine letting go of stress, fear, or anger. By practicing this type of conscious breathing, we allow ourselves to become more aware of how our emotions are stored in the body, and we create space to release them. This practice helps us clear away mental clutter and return to a place of peace. Breathing is also an essential tool for cultivating patience. When we feel impatient or frustrated, our breath often becomes rapid and shallow. By returning to slow, deep breathing, we can regain our sense of calm and patience. Deep breathing reminds us that we do not need to rush or force anything. We can trust that things will unfold in their own time. By practicing mindful breathing in moments of impatience, we can train ourselves to be more patient and accepting, not only with the world, but also with ourselves. In moments of difficulty, the breath can be a source of great comfort. When we face challenges, our natural instinct may be to react quickly or emotionally. But by taking a moment to focus on our breath, we give ourselves the space to respond with clarity and composure. The breath becomes a refuge, a reminder that we are okay, right here, right now. No matter what challenges we face, we always have our breath to guide us back to peace. Breathing is also a reminder of the impermanence of life. Each breath, from the first to the last, is fleeting. We cannot hold on to it or control it indefinitely. Just as we inhale and exhale, life moves through its cycles of birth, growth, and change. By becoming aware of the breath's impermanence, we learn to embrace the impermanence of all things. We stop clinging to moments, people, or possessions, and instead, we learn to appreciate them as they are. In this moment, Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh often teaches that the breath is a bridge between the mind and the body, between ourselves and the world. When we focus on the breath, we connect with our true nature, our deepest essence. The breath is not just a physical process. It is a reflection of our emotional and spiritual state. By becoming aware of the breath, we align ourselves with the natural flow of life. And in doing so, we experience the peace and stillness that reside within us. The breath also reminds us of our connection to the world around us. Just as we breathe in air, we breathe out life. The air we inhale has traveled through the world, and as we exhale, it returns to the world. Our breath is a shared experience, a connection to the larger cycle of life. This awareness fosters a deep sense of gratitude and interconnectedness. Breath is always with us. It is the most basic and fundamental experience of life. And yet, it has the power to bring us to the present moment, to calm our minds, and to connect us to the peace that resides deep within. When we focus on the breath, we are reminded that true peace is not something we need to search for or acquire. It is already here, within us, available in every breath. Suffering is an inherent part of the human experience. It is something that no one can escape, no matter their wealth, status, or spiritual practice. But in Zen, suffering is not something to be feared or avoided. It is something to be understood and embraced. Through understanding suffering, we can transform it into a source of growth, wisdom, and compassion. In Zen, suffering is seen as an opportunity for self-reflection and awakening. It is not something to be resisted or pushed away, but something to be met with mindfulness and presence. Often, we try to escape our pain, whether it is physical, emotional, or psychological. We distract ourselves, numb the pain, or try to control the circumstances that caused it. But Zen teaches us that true freedom comes not from avoiding suffering, but from learning how to face it with awareness and acceptance. The Buddha's teachings on suffering, known as the Four Noble Truths, form the foundation of many spiritual practices, including Zen. The first truth is that suffering exists. It is an unavoidable part of life. From birth to death, suffering manifests in many forms: physical pain, emotional heartache, loss, disappointment, and even existential anxiety. The second truth is that suffering arises from attachment. We suffer because we cling to things, people, and outcomes that are impermanent. We want things to stay the same, but life is constantly changing. The third truth is that suffering can end by letting go of attachment, by releasing our grasp on the things that cause us pain. We can find peace. Finally, the fourth truth is the path to freedom from suffering, the Eightfold Path, which includes practices such as right mindfulness, right action, and right understanding. In Zen, the path to freedom from suffering begins with understanding the nature of suffering itself. We must first accept that suffering is a part of life and that it is impossible to avoid it entirely. Instead of resisting suffering, we learn to engage with it in a new way, mindfully, compassionately, and with awareness. When we experience suffering, we can pause and observe it without judgment. We can ask ourselves, what am I learning from this? How can this suffering help me grow? Suffering often arises from attachment. Our attachment to how things should be. We have expectations about life, and when those expectations are not met, we feel disappointed, frustrated, or angry. For example, we may have expectations about how our relationships should look, how our career should unfold, or how we should feel at a certain point in our lives. When these expectations are not fulfilled, we experience suffering. Zen invites us to release these attachments to outcomes. It teaches us to let go of the need for things to be a certain way and to accept life as it is, with all its imperfections. One powerful Zen practice for understanding and transforming suffering is mindfulness. When we experience suffering, we can use mindfulness to bring our awareness to the present moment. Instead of getting lost in thoughts about why we are suffering or how we wish things were different, we focus on the sensations in our body, the emotions that arise, and the thoughts that accompany the pain. By simply being present with the suffering, we begin to see it more clearly. We realize that suffering is impermanent, and that, like everything else, it will eventually pass. Another important aspect of suffering in Zen is the understanding that it is not something we experience in isolation. We are all connected by the shared human experience of suffering. No one is exempt from pain or loss. When we experience suffering, we realize that it is part of the larger web of life, and that others are also going through similar struggles. This realization fosters empathy and compassion, instead of becoming consumed by our own pain. We begin to see our suffering as a way to connect with others. We understand that by accepting our own pain, we can be more compassionate and understanding toward the suffering of others. Zen teaches us that suffering can be transformed into wisdom. When we face our suffering with awareness, we begin to learn from it. We may discover the root causes of our pain, whether it is attachment, fear, or desire. And through this awareness, we can begin to let go of those attachments. We may also learn about our own capacity for resilience and strength. Through suffering, we are given the opportunity to awaken to our true nature, a nature that is beyond the ego, beyond attachment, and beyond the transient experiences of life. The Zen practice of sitting meditation, or Zazen, is an important tool for confronting suffering. When we sit in stillness, we allow ourselves to face whatever arises in the mind and body, whether it is physical discomfort, emotional pain, or mental distractions. Instead of avoiding or suppressing these experiences, we observe them with acceptance and curiosity. In doing so, we begin to understand the impermanence of all things, including our suffering. We learn that suffering is not something to be feared. It is simply part of the flow of life. Through the practice of mindfulness, we also learn to cultivate equanimity in the face of suffering. Equanimity is the ability to remain balanced and peaceful, regardless of the external circumstances. It is the quality of mind that allows us to face pain without becoming overwhelmed by it. In Zen, we are taught to observe suffering with the same openness and acceptance as we would any other experience. By cultivating equanimity, we can face suffering with a calm and steady mind, without becoming attached to it or trying to avoid it. In the end, Zen teaches us that suffering is not something we must escape from, but something we must learn to embrace. Through acceptance, mindfulness, and compassion, we can transform our suffering into a path of growth and self-realization. Suffering, when faced with awareness and equanimity, can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. It teaches us that peace does not come from avoiding pain, but from embracing the fullness of life, both the joys and the sorrows, with open-hearted acceptance. As we journey through life, we will inevitably encounter suffering, but we also have the choice to respond with mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. In this way, suffering becomes not a burden to bear, but a gift that can lead us to deeper peace and understanding. By facing suffering with awareness and acceptance, we discover that peace is not something we need to search for. It is always within us. Even in the midst of pain, in life, the desire for control is a powerful force. We try to control our environment, our relationships, our success, and even our emotions. But have you ever noticed how trying to control everything often leads to frustration, anxiety, and a sense of helplessness? The more we grasp for control, the more we find ourselves at the mercy of circumstances. Zen teaches us a profound truth. The need for control is an illusion, and the path to peace lies in releasing that need and accepting life as it comes. At the heart of our need for control is the belief that we can somehow shape life to meet our desires. We want things to go a certain way. We want people to behave in specific ways. And we want to feel a particular way. But the truth is, we can't control everything. Life is unpredictable, and external circumstances are beyond our influence. No matter how hard we try to control the world around us, we cannot prevent suffering, loss, or uncertainty. And when we hold on to the illusion of control, we create suffering for ourselves and those around us. Zen teaches us that freedom comes from letting go of control. The more we try to control something, the more we become attached to it, and the more it controls us. Whether it's our need for perfection, our fear of failure, or our desire to control other people's actions. All these attachments create stress, tension, and suffering. In contrast, when we release our need for control, we free ourselves from the burden of expectation, and we open ourselves to the flow of life. This does not mean that we give up on making decisions or taking action. In Zen, the practice of releasing control is about surrendering the need to force outcomes. It is about letting go of our attachment to how things should be and accepting what is. We do our best in each moment, but we do not cling to the results. When we release the need to control, we allow ourselves to respond with wisdom and equanimity, no matter what the situation brings. One way to practice releasing control is through mindfulness. When we notice ourselves trying to control a situation, we can take a deep breath and become aware of our thoughts and feelings. We can ask ourselves, what am I trying to control right now, and why? Often, the need for control comes from fear. Fear of uncertainty, fear of the unknown, or fear of failure. But when we observe this fear without judgment, we can see that it is just a passing thought. We don't need to act on it. We can let it go. And in doing so, we release the need for control. Another powerful Zen practice is to embrace the concept of non-striving. Non-striving is the practice of letting go of the desire to push, force, or manipulate outcomes. It's about surrendering to the natural flow of life and trusting that things will unfold as they are meant to. Non-striving is not about inaction. It is about responding to life with awareness and acceptance, without trying to make things happen according to our own plans. By embracing non-striving, we learn to live with a sense of ease, without the constant pressure to control every aspect of our lives. One of the great lessons of Zen is that life does not need to be controlled. It is not a problem to be solved or a project to be completed. Life is a dynamic, ever-changing process, And when we release the need to control it, we become more attuned to its natural rhythms. We stop fighting against the flow of life, and instead, we allow ourselves to move with it. This acceptance of life's flow brings us a sense of peace and harmony. The Zen teacher, Shunryu Suzuki, once said, "When you realize the impermanence of things, you will stop trying to control them." This is the essence of Zen's approach to control, recognizing that everything is temporary and nothing lasts forever. When we understand the impermanence of life, we can let go of our attachment to outcomes. We no longer feel the need to control or manipulate situations to ensure that they meet our expectations. Instead, we trust that everything will unfold in its own time, and we allow life to be as it is. Letting go of control also means accepting the unknown. We often cling to certainty because it provides us with a sense of security. We want to know what will happen next, and we fear the unpredictability of life. But Zen teaches us to embrace the unknown with an open heart. The unknown is not something to be feared. It is a part of life's mystery and beauty. When we release our need for certainty, we open ourselves to new possibilities, to growth, and to a deeper connection with the present moment. In relationships, releasing control means allowing others to be themselves without trying to shape them according to our desires. We stop trying to control how others behave, how they think, or how they feel. Instead, we accept them as they are, with all their imperfections. This acceptance brings freedom, both for ourselves and for others. It allows for a deeper, more authentic connection, free from the need to control or manipulate. Releasing the need for control is not about passivity or resignation. It is about finding peace in the present moment and letting go of the tension that comes from striving for perfection or certainty. It is about trusting life's natural process and allowing ourselves to flow with it. When we release control, we create space for joy, freedom, and peace. We no longer feel burdened by the weight of expectation, and we can live with greater ease. Zen teaches us that peace is found not in controlling the world around us, but in surrendering to the flow of life. By releasing the need for control, we create the conditions for true peace to arise. Peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, but rooted in the present moment. We let go of the illusion of control and embrace the natural unfolding of life. As you move through life, try to practice releasing control in small ways. Notice when you are gripping on to something too tightly, whether it's a desire for success, an attachment to an outcome, or a need to control a situation. Take a deep breath and let go. Allow life to unfold naturally and trust that you are exactly where you need to be. When we release control, we open ourselves to the peace and freedom that come from living in alignment with the present moment. In a world that constantly pushes us to do more, achieve more, and acquire more, it is easy to forget the profound beauty and peace that come with simplicity. We often think that happiness comes from having more things, more success, more validation. But in Zen, simplicity is viewed not as a lack, but as a deep richness. Zen teaches that when we let go of unnecessary distractions, we make room for what truly matters: peace, clarity, and connection. The art of simplicity is about removing the clutter, not just physical clutter, but mental and emotional clutter as well. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the sheer number of tasks you need to accomplish, the people you need to please, or the things you need to acquire? In these moments, we often feel like we are drowning in the noise of our own lives. But Zen teaches us that peace comes when we simplify our lives, when we focus on what is truly important and let go of everything else. In Zen practice, simplicity is not about striving for minimalism or perfection. It is about letting go of excess and returning to the essentials. It is about living in a way that is in alignment with our true values, rather than being swept along by the demands and expectations of the world. Simplicity in Zen is the practice of living in a way that is direct, clear, and unencumbered by distractions. One way to practice simplicity is through mindfulness. When we are mindful, we become aware of the things in our lives that are not serving us. We notice the distractions, the clutter, and the excess that are weighing us down, both physically and mentally. By becoming aware of these things, we can begin to make conscious choices to simplify our lives. We can let go of the things, activities, and even relationships that no longer align with our true purpose or values. Simplicity also involves letting go of our attachment to outcomes. In our desire for success or achievement, we often complicate things by trying to force things to happen according to our plans. We push ourselves, we strive, we worry about the future, and we forget to live in the present moment. But Zen teaches us that the true path to success is found not in striving or forcing, but in simply being. When we stop trying to control the outcomes and allow life to unfold naturally, we find that things often work out more smoothly and effortlessly. The simplicity Zen teaches is not about eliminating everything from our lives. It is about clearing away the things that distract us from the essence of life, our connection to the present moment, and to our own inner peace. It is about removing the layers of noise, judgment, and expectation that prevent us from experiencing the world as it truly is. By simplifying, we create space for joy, for peace, and for the simple pleasures of life. This approach to simplicity also extends to our relationships. In our interactions with others, we often complicate things with expectations, judgments, and desires. We want people to behave in certain ways, to meet our needs, and to fulfill our desires. But true connection with others comes when we let go of these expectations and simply meet them as they are. Simplicity in relationships means being present without trying to change or control others. It means letting go of the need for validation or approval and allowing others to simply be themselves. Simplicity also involves embracing the impermanence of life. When we let go of our attachment to permanence and control, we can begin to appreciate the fleeting beauty of each moment. Life is constantly changing, and by embracing this impermanence, we can release the need to hold on to things that are temporary. We stop grasping at the past or future and start living in the present, fully experiencing the richness of each moment. Zen's simplicity can also be seen in its emphasis on the ordinary. In our fast-paced world, we often overlook the beauty in the small, everyday moments. But Zen teaches that the simplest moments, like drinking a cup of tea, walking down a path, or washing dishes, can be profound when we approach them with mindfulness and presence. The ordinary becomes extraordinary when we pay attention to it, when we stop chasing after the next big thing and simply appreciate what is in front of us. We begin to experience life in its purest form. Another powerful aspect of simplicity in Zen is the practice of less is more. In a world where we are constantly encouraged to accumulate more things, more possessions, more accomplishments, Zen reminds us that less is often more. When we simplify, we create space for what truly matters. We let go of the need for excess and focus on what is essential to our happiness and well-being. By living with less, we open ourselves to a life of greater freedom and peace. Simplicity also teaches us to let go of our judgments. We often complicate our lives by labeling things as good or bad, right or wrong, desirable or undesirable. But Zen encourages us to experience life without these judgments. Instead of labeling things, we learn to observe them as they are, without attachment or resistance. This non-judgmental awareness helps us to see the beauty in everything, even in the simplest moments. In your own life, try to simplify in small ways. Start by becoming aware of the things that are weighing you down, whether it's physical clutter, mental distractions, or emotional baggage. Take time each day to clear away the excess, to let go of the things that no longer serve you. Embrace the present moment without the need to complicate it with expectations or judgments. Allow yourself to experience the simple joys of life, and you will find that peace arises naturally. Simplicity does not mean living without joy or without ambition. It means living in alignment with what truly matters. It means letting go of distractions and focusing on what brings us peace, clarity, and connection. In this simplicity, we find a deeper richness, a richness that comes from living authentically, from being present, and from embracing the beauty of the ordinary. In Zen, simplicity is not a goal, but a way of living. It is a practice that leads us back to the essence of who we are, peaceful, free, and fully present. By embracing simplicity, we clear away the noise and distractions, and in that space, we find the true peace that lies within us. In the fast-paced world we live in, it is easy to overlook the small moments, the fleeting glimpses of beauty and joy that surround us every day. We often get caught up in the pursuit of big achievements, the chase for success, or the expectation of grand experiences. But in Zen, there is a deep appreciation for the small things in life, for the simple joys that we often take for granted. Zen teaches us that happiness does not come from external accomplishments or possessions. It comes from within, from the quiet joy of being present in each moment, regardless of its size. Have you ever stopped to fully appreciate something small and simple? Maybe it was the warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of your favorite food, or the sound of raindrops on the roof. These moments of joy are often overlooked, yet they hold immense power. Zen encourages us to find joy in the little things, to notice the beauty in the everyday, and to experience the present moment with mindfulness and gratitude. In Zen, the practice of mindfulness helps us to connect with the small things in life. When we bring our full attention to something as simple as drinking a cup of tea or walking through a park, we begin to see the richness and beauty in these ordinary moments. Each step, each breath, each sensation becomes an opportunity to experience joy. Zen teaches us to slow down and appreciate what is right in front of us, without the need to rush or look for something bigger or better. One of the most powerful teachings in Zen is the idea of beginner's mind. This concept invites us to approach life with fresh eyes, as if we are experiencing everything for the first time. When we approach life with beginner's mind, we see the ordinary with new wonder. We become aware of the smallest details, the way the light dances on a tree, the sound of wind rustling through the leaves, the texture of a pebble beneath our feet. By cultivating beginner's mind, we allow ourselves to experience life with a sense of awe and appreciation, as if each moment is a gift. Finding joy in the small things also means letting go of expectations. Often, we are conditioned to believe that happiness comes from achieving big goals or reaching certain milestones. We tie our sense of worth to these accomplishments, thinking that once we reach a certain point, we will finally be happy. But Zen teaches that true happiness is not dependent on external circumstances. It comes from within, from our ability to be present, to appreciate the small joys of life, and to cultivate gratitude for what we already have. Have you ever noticed how children find joy in the simplest things? A child can spend hours playing with a rock, fascinated by its shape and texture. They find joy in a puddle, a butterfly, or a beam of sunlight. This is the essence of mindfulness, being fully engaged in the present moment without the need for anything more. Zen invites us to return to this childlike wonder, to embrace the small things with curiosity and appreciation, and to find joy in the simplicity of life. One way to practice this is by engaging in activities with mindfulness and presence. When you are eating, really taste the food. Notice the texture, the flavor, and the warmth. When you are walking, feel the ground beneath your feet, the breeze on your skin, and the sounds around you. These moments of awareness bring us back to the present and allow us to experience the joy that is inherent in each moment. Zen also teaches that joy is found in acceptance. When we stop trying to control or change our circumstances, we allow ourselves to experience life as it is. We no longer wait for something external to bring us happiness. Instead, we find joy in the present, in the simple fact that we are alive, breathing, and experiencing the world around us. This acceptance of what is allows us to let go of the constant striving for more and simply be with what is here, now. Another practice of Zen is gratitude. By cultivating gratitude, we shift our focus from what we lack to what we have. We begin to appreciate the small things, the smile of a friend, the warmth of a cup of tea, the sound of laughter, the feeling of the sun on our face. These small moments of joy are always available to us if we take the time to notice them. Gratitude helps us to see that there is beauty and goodness in every moment, no matter how simple it may seem. The more we practice finding joy in the small things, the more we realize that happiness is not something we need to search for. It is already here, in the present moment, in the simplicity of life. By letting go of the need for more and embracing what is in front of us, we find that joy is always available. It does not come from accomplishments, possessions, or future plans. It comes from the ability to appreciate the beauty and richness of the present. Zen teaches that true joy arises from within, from our ability to be fully present, to appreciate the ordinary, and to find gratitude in the simplest moments. When we focus on what is right in front of us, whether it's a beautiful sunset, a kind word, or a simple act of kindness, we begin to see that joy is not an external thing to be pursued, but an internal experience that we can cultivate in every moment. So, as you move through your day, try to pause and notice the small things. Take a deep breath and appreciate the beauty of the present moment. Find joy in the simple, everyday experiences that you often overlook. By doing so, you will discover that happiness is not a distant goal to be achieved. It is here, now, in the simplicity of life, in a world that values constant productivity and achievement. Rest is often seen as a luxury, something we indulge in only after we have earned it. We push ourselves to the limits, believing that if we just work harder, do more, or achieve more, we will finally find satisfaction. But Zen teaches us that rest is not a luxury. It is an essential practice for maintaining balance, well-being, and inner peace. Without rest, we cannot cultivate the clarity or mindfulness needed to navigate life with grace. Rest is not simply about sleeping or taking a break. It is about allowing ourselves the time and space to recharge, to reconnect with ourselves, and to restore our energy. In Zen, rest is seen as an act of self-care, a way to honor our body, mind, and spirit. By prioritizing rest, we create the conditions necessary for true healing and renewal. Without it, we risk burnout, fatigue, and a lack of emotional balance. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the constant demands of life, work, family, social obligations, and found it difficult to take a step back? In these moments, we often convince ourselves that we must keep going, that we don't have the time to rest, or that we will be seen as lazy if we stop. But Zen teaches us that rest is not only necessary, it is vital to our well-being. Without rest, we become disconnected from our true selves. We lose our sense of clarity, our ability to be present, and our capacity for mindfulness. In Zen, the concept of effortless effort is central to the practice. This principle teaches that we don't need to force or strive to make progress. Instead, we learn to allow things to unfold naturally. In this context, rest becomes a form of effortless effort. By allowing ourselves to pause, to rest, and to be still, we create space for our inner wisdom to arise. Rest is not about doing nothing. It is about creating the conditions for renewal and growth, so that we can engage with life from a place of clarity and presence. Rest also allows us to reconnect with the present moment. When we are constantly in motion, rushing from one task to the next, we become disconnected from ourselves and the world around us. We miss the beauty of the present moment and become consumed by the stress of the past or future. Rest gives us the opportunity to slow down, to breathe, and to be fully present. It is in these moments of stillness that we can experience true peace. As we let go of the pressures and distractions that often cloud our minds, in Zen, Meditation is often seen as a form of rest. While meditation involves effort, it is also a practice of letting go. Letting go of the constant chatter of the mind, the tension in the body, and the need to do. Meditation is an opportunity to rest in the present moment, to simply be. In this stillness, we can reconnect with the breath, the body, and the essence of who we are. Meditation offers us the chance to pause, to release stress, and to find peace in the midst of life's chaos. Rest is not just for the body, it is also for the mind and spirit. We spend so much of our time thinking, planning, analyzing, and worrying that we often forget to give our minds a break. Constant mental activity can lead to stress, anxiety, and burnout. In Zen, the practice of stillness, whether through meditation, mindfulness, or simply sitting quietly, gives the mind the space to rest. It allows us to release the mental clutter that accumulates throughout the day and return to a state of clarity and peace. Rest is also an opportunity to reconnect with our deeper purpose. When we are constantly busy, we can lose sight of what is truly important. We become caught up in the demands of everyday life, and we forget to check in with ourselves. Rest gives us the time to reflect, to reassess our priorities, and to reconnect with our true values. It is in these moments of rest that we can ask ourselves, am I living in alignment with my purpose? Am I taking care of myself and honoring my needs? The importance of rest is not only recognized in Zen, but in many spiritual traditions. In the Christian tradition, there is the practice of the Sabbath, a day of rest and reflection. In the Jewish tradition, Shabbat is observed as a time to pause and recharge. In the Buddhist tradition, rest is seen as essential for maintaining balance and mindfulness. Rest is not just a personal practice. It is a universal need for all human beings. It is a way to honor our humanity and our connection to the world. One way to incorporate more rest into our lives is to schedule time for it. Just as we schedule time for work and other responsibilities. It's easy to let rest fall by the wayside when we are busy. But making rest a priority is essential for maintaining balance. This could mean taking a few minutes during the day to sit quietly, setting aside time in the evening to relax, or practicing mindfulness during everyday activities. The more we intentionally make space for rest, the more we will experience its benefits in our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Rest also teaches us the value of patience. We live in a society that emphasizes productivity and achievement, but Zen teaches that rest is not a waste of time. It is an investment in our long-term well-being. Just as a plant needs time to grow and replenish its energy, so too do we need time to rest and recharge. When we embrace rest, we are cultivating the patience necessary to allow things to unfold in their own time. We are learning that not everything needs to be rushed. Rest is a practice of trust and acceptance, a reminder that we don't need to do everything all at once. The practice of rest also teaches us to let go of guilt. Many people feel guilty about taking breaks or resting, believing that they should always be doing something productive. But Zen teaches us that rest is a vital part of the process. It is a way to reconnect with ourselves, to nurture our well-being, and to be present in the moment. Rest is not a sign of laziness. It is a necessary act of self-care. By giving ourselves permission to rest, we free ourselves from the pressures of doing and allow space for being. In the end, rest is a practice that is essential for inner peace. It allows us to release stress, reconnect with the present moment, and recharge our bodies and minds. Rest is not a luxury. It is a necessity for living a balanced and fulfilling life. By embracing rest, we create the space for true peace, clarity, and joy to arise. We learn that we are not defined by what we do, but by who we are in the present moment. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions we experience as humans. It can stop us in our tracks, paralyze us with anxiety, and create obstacles that seem insurmountable. But in Zen practice, fear is not something to be avoided or ignored. Instead, it is something to be acknowledged and understood. By facing our fears with awareness and compassion, we can transform them into opportunities for growth and inner peace. Fear often arises from the unknown. We fear what might happen in the future, what we cannot control, and what we do not understand. But Zen teaches us that the future is never certain, and the unknown is simply a part of life. Fear arises when we attach ourselves to the idea of certainty, to the need for control, or to the expectation of outcomes. We want to know what will happen, how things will unfold, and when it will all be resolved. But life does not unfold according to our plans. It is full of surprises, uncertainties, and twists that challenge our need for control. The first step in overcoming fear is to recognize it. Often, we try to push fear away, to deny it, or to run from it. But this only makes the fear stronger. Zen teaches us to sit with fear, to observe it without judgment, and to allow it to be. When we face our fear directly, we can begin to see it for what it truly is, a feeling that arises in response to thoughts or expectations about the future. It is not an absolute truth, but a temporary state of mind. One of the most profound teachings in Zen is to sit with discomfort. This means that when fear arises, we do not try to escape it or avoid it. Instead, we sit with it, feel it, and observe it without reacting. This practice of mindfulness allows us to create space between ourselves and our fear. We realize that fear is not who we are. It is simply a temporary emotion that will pass, just like any other thought or feeling. When we do not react to fear with resistance, we find that it loses its power over us. Another way to overcome fear is by practicing non-attachment. When we become attached to a particular outcome, we create fear. We fear that things will not go the way we want, that we will fail, or that we will lose something important. But Zen teaches us that attachment to outcomes is the root of suffering. When we let go of our attachment to specific results, we release the grip that fear has on us. We allow ourselves to be open to whatever comes, knowing that we can handle whatever life brings our way. Mindfulness is also a key practice for overcoming fear. When fear arises, it is easy to become overwhelmed by it and to spiral into anxious thoughts about what might happen. But when we practice mindfulness, we bring our attention back to the present moment. We observe our fear, but we do not become consumed by it. We notice our breath, the sensations in our body, and the thoughts that arise. We observe without judgment, And in doing so, we create space for peace and calm by grounding ourselves in the present. We disconnect from the stories and fears that our minds create about the future. In Zen, we also learn to transform fear into wisdom. Fear is not something that we need to fight or eliminate. It is a natural part of life, and it can teach us valuable lessons. When we feel fear, we can ask ourselves, what am I afraid of, and why? This inquiry helps us to understand the root of our fear. Often, fear arises from old wounds, past experiences, or unresolved emotions. By looking directly at our fear and understanding its source, we can begin to heal the parts of ourselves that are holding on to it. Zen teaches that fear is not something to be feared in itself. It is simply a sign that we are being pushed outside of our comfort zone. When we face our fears, we grow. We expand our capacity for resilience, bravery, and wisdom. Fear is a natural response to the unknown, but it does not need to control us. By acknowledging fear and sitting with it, we can release its power and find peace in the midst of uncertainty. One Zen practice that can help us face fear is the concept of beginner's mind. When we approach life with a beginner's mind, we let go of preconceived notions and expectations. We open ourselves to the present moment without judgment or fear of what might come. This practice allows us to embrace the unknown with curiosity and wonder rather than fear. By adopting a beginner's mind, we shift our perspective from fear to openness, and we begin to see that fear is just one of many possible responses to life's uncertainties. Another important teaching of Zen is that fear often arises when we are disconnected from our true nature. Our minds create stories about the future, and we become attached to those stories. But Zen reminds us that our true nature is peaceful, still, and free from fear. When we reconnect with this deeper essence, we realize that fear cannot touch our true self. Fear may come and go, but it does not define us. By grounding ourselves in our true nature, we can move through life with a sense of calm and clarity. Regardless of the external circumstances, the Zen master, Dogen, said, "If you do not see the true nature of the world, you will be frightened by what comes next." This teaching emphasizes the importance of seeing fear for what it truly is, an illusion created by the mind. When we see through the illusion of fear, we can move beyond it. We no longer need to be controlled by it, and we can embrace life with a sense of peace and confidence. In your own life, when you feel fear arising, try to sit with it without reacting. Observe the sensations in your body. Notice the thoughts that accompany the fear and breathe deeply. Recognize that fear is just a passing emotion, and it does not define who you are. As you practice mindfulness, non-attachment, and awareness, you will find that fear no longer holds power over you. It becomes just another experience that arises and passes, and you are free to live with clarity, confidence, and peace. Fear is a natural part of the human experience, but it does not need to control us. Through Zen practice, we learn to face fear with awareness, compassion, and wisdom. By embracing fear rather than running from it, we transform it into an opportunity for growth, healing, and self-discovery. And in this transformation, we find peace. Acceptance is one of the most profound teachings in Zen. It is the practice of embracing life as it is, without judgment, resistance, or the need to change it. But what does it mean to truly accept life? And how can we learn to accept things that are difficult or painful? In a world that often promotes control, achievement, and the constant striving for something better, acceptance can seem counterintuitive. We are taught to improve, to reach for more, to make things happen. But Zen teaches us that acceptance is not about passivity or resignation. It is about fully experiencing life as it is in the present moment, without trying to force it to be different. When we practice acceptance, we are not giving up or surrendering to suffering. We are simply allowing life to unfold as it does, with openness and compassion. The first step in practicing acceptance is to let go of resistance. Resistance is the natural reaction we have when things don't go as planned, when we face discomfort, or when we encounter challenges. We want things to be different, to be easier, or to be more predictable. But the more we resist life, the more we create suffering. Zen teaches us that resistance only makes things harder. Instead of fighting against reality, we can choose to accept it, to allow it to be what it is, without judgment. This doesn't mean that we must like everything that happens or agree with everything that life presents. Acceptance is not about approving of every situation. It is about acknowledging it without resistance. It is about recognizing that, regardless of how we feel about a situation, it is already here. And fighting against it only creates more pain. By accepting it, we create space for peace. When we practice acceptance, we stop trying to control life and instead begin to flow with it. Life is full of uncertainties, changes, and challenges. We cannot control everything that happens to us, and yet, we can control how we respond. Acceptance invites us to choose how we engage with life, not through resistance or frustration, but with openness and a willingness to meet each moment with awareness. Acceptance also means accepting ourselves as we are, without judgment. How often do we criticize ourselves, wishing we were different or better? We may think that we are not enough, that we are flawed, or that we don't measure up to some standard. But Zen teaches us that true peace comes when we stop judging ourselves. When we accept ourselves fully, with all our imperfections, we create space for self-compassion and healing. We are not perfect, and that's okay. Our imperfections are part of who we are, and they do not diminish our worth. Acceptance allows us to embrace ourselves with kindness and understanding, without the need to change or improve. In Zen, we also practice acceptance of our emotions. Often, when we feel negative emotions, anger, sadness, frustration, we resist them, trying to push them away or deny their existence. But Zen teaches us that emotions are not something to be avoided or feared. They are part of the human experience, and when we accept them, we can learn from them. Instead of getting caught up in our emotions, we can observe them with mindfulness. We can notice where we feel them in our bodies, what thoughts accompany them, and how they shift over time. By accepting our emotions without judgment, we allow them to move through us, rather than getting stuck in them. The Zen practice of meditation is a powerful tool for cultivating acceptance. When we meditate, we sit with whatever arises, whether it is discomfort, thoughts, emotions, or distractions. We do not try to change or control what comes up. We simply observe it with acceptance. Over time, this practice of mindfulness helps us develop a deeper capacity to accept whatever life brings our way. We learn to let go of the need to control our thoughts, our feelings, or our circumstances. We learn to accept them as they are, without trying to fix them or make them go away. One of the key teachings of Zen is that acceptance leads to peace. When we accept life as it is, we free ourselves from the burden of resistance. We stop fighting against reality and begin to flow with it. Acceptance is not about passivity. It is an active choice to be present, to engage with life in a way that is open, compassionate, and mindful. It is about finding peace in the present moment, rather than constantly striving for something else. Acceptance also means accepting change and impermanence. In life, nothing stays the same. People change, circumstances change, and we change. But so often, we resist change, clinging to what we know or what feels familiar. Zen teaches us that change is natural, and when we accept it, we can move with it rather than fighting against it. When we let go of our attachment to the past or our fear of the future, we can embrace the present moment with peace. The Zen teacher, Suzuki Roshi, said, "You are perfect just as you are, and you could use a little improvement." This teaching reflects the essence of acceptance in Zen. We are not flawed or broken, but we are always in the process of growth and change. Acceptance is not about being static or stagnant. It is about being present with who we are right now, without the need to be different. It is about embracing life as it is, with all its imperfections and challenges, and finding peace in the process. Acceptance also teaches us humility. When we accept life as it is, we stop pretending to have all the answers. We let go of the need to be right, to prove ourselves, or to control the outcome. We learn to listen, to learn, and to grow from each experience. Humility in acceptance is about acknowledging that we do not have all the answers, but that we are open to whatever life brings. Knowing that we are exactly where we need to be. In your own life, try to practice acceptance in small ways. When you encounter difficulties or challenges, take a moment to pause and accept the situation as it is. Notice your thoughts and feelings, but don't judge them. Let go of the need to change or control the situation. Instead, simply be present with what is. The more you practice acceptance, the more you will find that peace arises naturally, without the need for external circumstances to be different. Acceptance is the key to finding peace in the present moment, and it is the foundation for true freedom. Acceptance is not about resigning ourselves to suffering. It is about recognizing that life, in all its complexity, is exactly as it should be in this moment. Through acceptance, we embrace life's impermanence, its changes, and its challenges, and in doing so, we find the peace that exists within us, no matter what life brings. Self-reflection is a cornerstone of Zen practice. It is through the quiet, deliberate examination of our thoughts, actions, and emotions that we come to know ourselves more deeply and understand our place in the world. The practice of self-reflection is not about judgment or criticism, but about developing awareness and insight into who we truly are beyond the surface. It is through this awareness that we can begin to make choices that align with our true nature, our deeper values, and our path to peace. Self-reflection in Zen involves quieting the mind and turning our attention inward. It is the practice of observing our thoughts and feelings without attachment, without judgment. Often, we are so caught up in the noise of the world and the busyness of our daily lives that we forget to take a moment to pause and reflect. But Zen reminds us that when we slow down and reflect, we gain clarity about what is important, what is truly happening within us, and how we can live more authentically. One powerful form of self-reflection is the practice of sitting in silence, just being with ourselves. In our everyday lives, we often fill the space with distractions, television, social media, conversations, and constant activity. But Zen teaches us that true self-reflection comes from stillness. When we sit quietly, whether through meditation or simply in silence, we allow ourselves the space to connect with our deeper selves. It is in these moments of stillness that we can hear our inner voice, the voice of wisdom, of truth, and of peace. The practice of self-reflection also involves looking honestly at our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. It is not about blaming ourselves for our flaws or mistakes, but about seeing them clearly and understanding their origins. When we examine our reactions, our patterns, and our habits, we gain insight into why we respond the way we do and what drives our actions. This self-awareness allows us to make more conscious choices, to live more intentionally, and to respond to life with wisdom rather than reaction. Zen encourages us to observe our thoughts without judgment. When we notice a thought arising, we don't immediately react or try to push it away. Instead, we acknowledge it, observe it, and let it pass. Self-reflection in Zen is not about holding on to thoughts or getting caught in them, but about seeing them as temporary, passing experiences. This allows us to understand that our thoughts do not define us. They are simply clouds passing through the sky of our mind. In the practice of self-reflection, we also begin to see our attachments to beliefs, to outcomes, to certain identities. We often cling to these attachments because they give us a sense of security or certainty. But Zen teaches us that attachment to anything creates suffering. When we reflect on our attachments, we can begin to loosen our grip, allowing us to experience life more freely without the need to hold on to anything. By releasing attachment, we open ourselves to the natural flow of life and to the peace that comes with non-attachment. Another important aspect of self-reflection is understanding our emotions. Emotions are often seen as reactions to external events, but Zen teaches us that our emotions are also reflections of our inner state. When we take the time to reflect on our emotions, whether they are fear, anger, sadness, or joy, we can begin to see the underlying causes. Are we reacting to past experiences, to expectations, or to our fears of the future? Self-reflection allows us to understand the roots of our emotions, and in doing so, we can respond to them more skillfully, without being controlled by them. Self-reflection also helps us develop greater compassion for ourselves and others. When we reflect on our actions and motivations, we begin to see our shared humanity. We realize that we all have fears, insecurities, and struggles. By recognizing our own flaws and imperfections, we become more empathetic toward others who are experiencing similar challenges. Self-reflection allows us to approach others with kindness, understanding, and a willingness to help rather than judgment or criticism. A powerful Zen practice for self-reflection is the koan, a paradoxical question or statement used to challenge our thinking and bring us to a deeper understanding of ourselves. Koans are designed to break through the logical mind, forcing us to confront the limitations of our thoughts and beliefs. By reflecting on koans, we enter a space of not knowing, of openness, and of deep inquiry. This practice helps us see beyond the surface of our thinking and connect with a deeper wisdom that lies within us. Self-reflection is also an ongoing process. It is not something we do once and then forget about. It is a continuous practice of checking in with ourselves, of examining our actions, thoughts, and emotions, and of course, of being patient and gentle with ourselves as we grow. Zen teaches us that there is no perfect version of ourselves to attain. The goal is not to become something else, but to become more fully who we already are, whole, complete, and at peace with ourselves. Through self-reflection, we develop a greater sense of clarity and insight into our true nature. We begin to recognize that we are not our thoughts, our emotions, or our past experiences. We are the awareness behind them. This realization helps us detach from the patterns and identities we have built around ourselves and gives us the freedom to live more authentically. We begin to understand that we are not defined by what has happened to us or by what we think we should be. We are simply beings, experiencing life in its fullness. And through self-reflection, we learn to embrace that experience with grace. Self-reflection also teaches us the importance of humility. We learn that we are not above making mistakes, that we are constantly evolving and learning. When we reflect on our actions, we become aware of areas where we can grow and improve. But instead of judging ourselves harshly, we approach ourselves with kindness and patience. We recognize that we are on a path of continual growth, and that each step, whether forward or backward, is part of the journey. In your own practice, try to set aside time each day for self-reflection. It can be as simple as sitting quietly for a few minutes, breathing deeply, and observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment. As you reflect, ask yourself questions like, what am I feeling right now? What do I need in this moment? How can I respond to this situation with more awareness and kindness? Through this practice, you will develop greater insight into yourself and your relationship with the world around you. Self-reflection is the key to understanding who we are and what we need to live a life of peace and authenticity. It is through this process that we come to know our true selves, not the selves defined by our past, our fears, or our expectations, but the selves that are present, open, and free. By embracing self-reflection, we unlock the door to a deeper connection with ourselves, others, and the world. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most powerful practices in Zen. In a world that often focuses on what we lack or what we wish we could change, gratitude helps us shift our focus to what we already have. It reminds us of the beauty and abundance that exists in our lives, even in the midst of challenges or adversity. Through gratitude, we develop a deep appreciation for the present moment, for ourselves, and for the world around us. The practice of gratitude in Zen is not about merely saying thank you for things or going through the motions of gratitude. It is about truly feeling and acknowledging the gifts that life has given us, whether they are big or small. Gratitude is about being present with the good things in our lives, fully appreciating them, and recognizing their value. It is a way of seeing the world through a lens of abundance, rather than scarcity. Have you ever paused to fully appreciate the simple things in life? The warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of your food, the sound of birds singing, the presence of loved ones. These moments are often overlooked, but they are the foundation of true happiness. Zen teaches us to cultivate gratitude by slowing down and fully experiencing the present moment. When we practice gratitude, we begin to see that we are surrounded by gifts that are often invisible or taken for granted. One powerful practice in Zen is to express gratitude each day. This can be done through meditation, journaling, or simply taking a moment to reflect on what we are thankful for. Gratitude doesn't have to be reserved for grand occasions. It can be practiced in the everyday moments of life. When we take the time to express gratitude, we align ourselves with the present moment and with the abundance that already exists in our lives. In Zen, gratitude is closely tied to mindfulness. When we are mindful, we are aware of the small things, the way the light falls on a flower, the texture of a leaf, the sound of water flowing. These small, ordinary moments are often overlooked, but they are filled with beauty and meaning. Gratitude helps us cultivate mindfulness by bringing our attention to these small moments, allowing us to experience them fully and with appreciation. By practicing gratitude, we develop the ability to see the richness of life that is present in each moment. Gratitude also helps us develop a deeper sense of connection with others. When we are grateful for the people in our lives, we cultivate a sense of appreciation and love that strengthens our relationships. Gratitude encourages us to acknowledge the kindness and support of others, not just when they do something for us, but simply for who they are. By expressing gratitude, we open our hearts to the people around us and create deeper, more meaningful connections. In addition to cultivating gratitude for others, Zen teaches us to be grateful for ourselves. Often, we are our own harshest critics, focusing on our flaws, shortcomings, and mistakes. But Zen reminds us that we are worthy of love and appreciation, just as we are. Gratitude helps us to recognize our own worth, to appreciate the unique qualities that make us who we are. When we practice self-gratitude, we develop a deep sense of self-love and acceptance. We begin to see that we are already enough, and that we don't need to strive for perfection in order to be worthy of love. The Zen practice of gratitude also encourages us to be thankful for challenges and difficulties. This may sound paradoxical, but Zen teaches that adversity can be a great teacher. Difficult times often bring us the most valuable lessons, helping us grow and develop in ways that we couldn't have imagined. When we cultivate gratitude for the challenges we face, we shift our perspective from resistance to acceptance. We begin to see that even in hardship, there is something to be learned, and that the difficulties of life are not obstacles, but opportunities for growth. One way to cultivate gratitude is to keep a gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things that you are thankful for. They can be small, simple things, like a cup of tea, a kind word, or a beautiful sunset. The key is to focus on the positive aspects of your day, no matter how small. Over time, this practice helps to shift your mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. You begin to notice all the gifts that life has to offer, and you realize that there is so much to be thankful for, even on difficult days. Another powerful practice is to express gratitude to others. Take the time to thank those who have supported you, who have shown you kindness, or who have made a positive impact on your life. A simple thank you can go a long way in strengthening relationships and spreading positivity. When we express gratitude to others, we create an environment of appreciation and love, which in turn nurtures our own sense of peace and joy. Zen teaches that true peace comes not from having more, but from appreciating what we already have. By practicing gratitude, we open ourselves to the fullness of life. We begin to see the beauty in the simple things, the gifts that are already present, and the abundance that surrounds us. Gratitude helps us to embrace the present moment with joy, to let go of our attachment to the past or future, and to find peace in what is. Gratitude also has the power to shift our energy. When we focus on what we are thankful for, we invite more positive energy into our lives. This shift in perspective can transform our experiences, bringing us a greater sense of peace and happiness. Gratitude is a practice that aligns us with the flow of life, reminding us that we are connected to something larger than ourselves. In your own life, make a practice of gratitude. Take a moment each day to reflect on what you are thankful for, to express appreciation for others, and to cultivate an attitude of thankfulness in everything you do. When we practice gratitude, we open ourselves to the gifts of the present moment, and we discover that the more we appreciate life, the more life appreciates us. Gratitude is a path to peace. By embracing gratitude, we align ourselves with the richness of life and the abundance that is always available to us. Through this practice, we open our hearts to the beauty of the world. And in doing so, we find the true peace that lies within us all. Letting go is one of the most profound teachings in Zen. It is a practice that requires both strength and surrender. In a world that teaches us to hold on to things, whether they be material possessions, relationships, memories, or expectations, it can be difficult to embrace the idea of letting go. But Zen teaches us that true freedom and peace are found when we release our attachment to the things, people, and outcomes that we cling to. At its core, letting go is about releasing the need to control. When we hold on tightly to something, whether it's a desire, a belief, or a past experience, we create tension and suffering. Zen reminds us that everything is impermanent, and that attachment to anything that is temporary only leads to pain. Whether it's the attachment to a specific outcome, to a past experience, or to an identity we've built for ourselves, all these attachments limit our ability to experience life fully. They create a sense of confinement and fear. In Zen, letting go is not about rejection or avoidance. It is about releasing the need for attachment, which frees us to experience life as it is. When we let go, we allow ourselves to live more openly and authentically. We stop defining ourselves by the things we own, the roles we play, or the expectations we hold. Instead, we embrace the present moment and trust that life will unfold as it is meant to. Letting go often begins with acknowledging our attachments. Take a moment to consider, what am I holding on to right now? Is there something I am clinging to that is no longer serving me? This could be a past relationship, a job that no longer brings fulfillment, or an old identity or belief that no longer fits. Zen teaches us to observe these attachments with awareness, without judgment or resistance. The first step is simply to notice them and recognize that they are temporary. Zen teaches that everything we attach ourselves to, whether it is a person, a possession, a memory, or a belief, is in a constant state of flux. Nothing stays the same. The people we love change. The things we own wear out, and our memories fade. The more tightly we hold on, the more we resist the natural flow of life. Letting go is a recognition that we cannot control these things, and that trying to do so only creates suffering. When we release our grip, we allow life to move more freely, without interference. A key practice in Zen is the art of non-attachment. Non-attachment does not mean that we stop caring about people, things, or experiences. It simply means that we stop defining ourselves by them. We love, we engage, and we experience life fully. But we do so without the need to hold on or possess. When we practice non-attachment, we become free to experience the beauty of life without the fear of loss. We realize that life's impermanence is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. Letting go also means releasing the need to control outcomes. In our modern society, we are often told that success and happiness depend on achieving specific goals or attaining certain outcomes. We set our sights on a goal, and we attach our happiness to reaching it. But Zen teaches us that true peace comes not from achieving a particular outcome, but from accepting life as it is. We do our best, we take action, and we work toward our goals. But we release the need to control the results. When we let go of this attachment to outcomes, we free ourselves from anxiety and disappointment. The practice of meditation is a powerful tool for learning how to let go. In meditation, we sit in stillness, observing our thoughts without attaching to them. Thoughts come and go, but we do not hold on to them. Similarly, in life, when we allow our thoughts, feelings, and experiences to pass without clinging to them, we create space for peace. We stop identifying with our thoughts and emotions, and instead, we allow them to simply be. Through this practice, we begin to experience life as it is, without the need to hold on to anything. Another aspect of letting go is releasing our attachment to our past. So often, We are defined by our history, the experiences, mistakes, and regrets that shape who we think we are. But Zen teaches that we are not our past. We are constantly evolving, constantly changing. When we let go of the past, we open ourselves to new possibilities. We stop carrying the weight of old memories, regrets, and identities, and we become free to experience the present moment fully. In relationships, letting go means releasing the need to control others or to possess them. We cannot change others, nor can we make them fulfill our expectations. True love and connection come when we allow others to be who they are, without trying to control them or hold them to our standards. When we let go of our attachment to how others should behave, we allow our relationships to flourish with greater freedom and authenticity. The act of letting go is not a one-time event. It is a continuous practice. Life is constantly changing, and we must regularly let go of the things that no longer serve us. This could be old beliefs, outdated goals, or attachments to things that weigh us down. Zen reminds us that letting go is not a loss. It is a liberation. When we release what no longer serves us, we create space for what is truly important. We allow ourselves to be present with life, free from the burden of attachment. Letting go also allows us to reconnect with our true nature. Our attachments often mask the simplicity and beauty of who we really are. We become so caught up in our identities, our roles, and our possessions that we forget our essential nature, our peaceful, free, and interconnected self. When we let go of these attachments, we return to the stillness within us. We reconnect with the truth of who we are, and in that truth, we find peace. Zen master Dogen said, "When you let go of everything, you hold nothing." This teaching reflects the essence of letting go. When we release our attachments, we do not lose anything of true value. Instead, we gain freedom. We let go of the things that weigh us down, and we create space for the peace, joy, and love that are always present within us. By letting go, we embrace the flow of life, trusting that what is meant for us will come naturally, without effort. In your own life, practice letting go in small ways. Notice when you are clinging to something, whether it's a thought, a belief, a possession, or a person, and gently release it. Allow it to pass without judgment or resistance. Trust that life will unfold as it is meant to, and that by letting go, you create space for true peace and freedom. Letting go is not about losing. It is about opening ourselves to the fullness of life, unencumbered by attachment. Letting go is the path to freedom. It is the key to experiencing life fully, with all its beauty, impermanence, and mystery. When we let go, we are free to live in the present moment, to connect deeply with ourselves and others, and to experience the peace that lies at the heart of our being. The path to inner peace is not a destination, but a journey, an ongoing process of self-discovery, growth, and deepening understanding. It is not something that can be forced or achieved through effort alone, but something that arises naturally when we embrace the present moment. Let go of attachments and cultivate mindfulness and acceptance. Zen teaches us that inner peace is always available to us, but we must create the space to experience it. It is within us, waiting to be uncovered. Inner peace does not come from external circumstances. We often look outside ourselves for happiness, whether it's in the approval of others, the accumulation of wealth, or the achievement of success. But Zen teaches that true peace is found within, in the stillness of the mind and the quietness of the heart. When we learn to silence the noise of the world and of our thoughts, we uncover a deep sense of calm and clarity that is always there. Beneath the surface, one of the first steps on the journey to inner peace is learning to be present. So much of our suffering comes from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. We get caught up in regrets, guilt, or missed opportunities, or we become anxious about what might happen in the future. But Zen teaches that the present moment is all we have. When we focus on the here and now, we free ourselves from the burden of the past and the uncertainty of the future. We experience life as it is, in its fullness and beauty, without the distractions of our thoughts. Being present is not just about paying attention to what is happening around us, but also about being aware of our thoughts and emotions without judgment. It is about observing the present moment with openness and curiosity, rather than reacting to it with fear, attachment, or resistance. When we are truly present, we stop trying to control or change the moment, and instead, we simply experience it as it is. This acceptance of the present is the foundation of inner peace. Another important aspect of the journey to inner peace is letting go of the need for control. So often, we try to control our lives, our circumstances, and the people around us. We hold on to expectations, beliefs, and desires, thinking that they will bring us happiness. But Zen teaches us that control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable and beyond our control. When we release the need to control, we open ourselves to the natural flow of life. We trust that things will unfold as they are meant to, and we embrace whatever comes with openness and acceptance. Letting go of control also means releasing attachment to outcomes. We often attach our happiness to achieving a specific goal or reaching a certain point in life. We think that once we achieve something, whether it's success in our career, a perfect relationship, or a certain level of wealth, we will finally find peace. But Zen reminds us that peace is not found in external achievements. It is found in our ability to let go of the need for external validation and to cultivate peace within ourselves. The more we let go of attachment to outcomes, the more we allow ourselves to experience peace, regardless of the external circumstances. A key part of this process is learning to accept life as it is. Acceptance is not about giving up or resigning ourselves to suffering. It is about fully experiencing life without trying to change it. It means acknowledging that life is not always easy, that we will face challenges, pain, and loss, but that we can still find peace in the midst of it. Acceptance allows us to let go of resistance, to stop fighting against what is, and to move through life with greater ease. Self-compassion is also essential to the journey of inner peace. We often treat ourselves with harshness and judgment, focusing on our flaws and mistakes. But Zen teaches us that peace comes from loving and accepting ourselves as we are, without judgment or self-criticism. When we practice self-compassion, we treat ourselves with kindness and understanding, just as we would treat a dear friend. We recognize that we are all human, and that it is okay to be imperfect. Self-compassion allows us to let go of the need for perfection and to find peace in the present moment, just as we are. Mindfulness is another key practice for cultivating inner peace. When we are mindful, we bring our full attention to the present moment. We observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment or attachment. We are fully present with whatever arises, allowing ourselves to experience life as it is, without interference from our minds. Mindfulness helps us to release the tension that comes from clinging to the past or worrying about the future. It allows us to live more fully and with greater clarity, leading us to a deeper sense of peace. The Zen practice of meditation is one of the most powerful tools for cultivating inner peace. In meditation, we sit in stillness, focus on our breath, and observe the thoughts that arise. Meditation helps us to quiet the mind, to let go of distractions, and to return to the present moment. It is in the silence of meditation that we connect with our true nature, a nature that is inherently peaceful, calm, and free. Through regular meditation practice, we develop the ability to remain grounded and centered, no matter what life brings. The journey to inner peace is not always easy. There will be times when we struggle, when we feel lost, or when we are overwhelmed by life's challenges. But Zen reminds us that peace is not something that can be achieved once and for all. It is a practice, a continuous process of returning to the present moment, letting go of attachment, and embracing life as it is. Through mindfulness, acceptance, and compassion, we can find inner peace in every moment, no matter what is happening around us. In your own life, take the time to cultivate inner peace. Practice mindfulness, embrace acceptance, let go of control, and be kind to yourself. As you continue on this journey, you will find that peace is always within reach. It is not something you need to chase or strive for. It is already there, within you, waiting to be discovered. The path to inner peace is not about perfection, but about being present, being kind, and being open to the flow of life. Inner peace is the ultimate freedom. It is the freedom to be yourself, to accept life as it comes, and to experience each moment with clarity, compassion, and grace. When we embrace this peace, we find that we are no longer at the mercy of the world around us. We are at peace with ourselves and with the world. And in that peace, we discover the true beauty of life. As we come to the end of this journey, remember that the path to inner peace is not about achieving a final destination or reaching a specific goal. It's about embracing the present moment with mindfulness, letting go of attachments, and accepting life as it is. Life will always present challenges, but it is how we respond to them that defines our peace. Trust in the process and understand that peace is always within you. It simply requires you to create space for it through practices like acceptance, gratitude, and self-compassion. Remember that true freedom lies in the ability to release the need for control, to let go of expectations, and to live fully in each moment. The small joys, the ordinary experiences, and the quiet stillness are all gifts waiting for your presence and appreciation. Even in moments of fear or uncertainty, there is always an opportunity to pause, breathe, and reconnect with the peace that resides within you. As you move through life, take time to reflect, practice mindfulness, and embrace both the challenges and beauty that come your way. It is in these moments that true growth and inner peace unfold. Do not rush, and don't be too hard on yourself. Be kind, patient, and compassionate with yourself as you continue to walk this path. Good night, and may you wake tomorrow with a heart full of peace, gratitude, and mindfulness. Take this serenity with you, wherever life may take you, knowing that you always have the tools within to find your way back to peace.